Hello everyone, Xeno What If here. Bring in part 3 of What If Jackie Chan was in W.I.T.C.H. Link down description of the fanfiction of this What If. Listen here YouTube. I do not own anything and this is not a scam. J-Witch meets the J-Team. Valment and his goons sat in a warehouse along the docks as the crime lord held the crystal pendant known as the Heart of Kandrakar in his hands as his 4 enforcers looked at the glowing crystal with amazement. Ooh, pretty. Ratso looked at it with a smile. So, this thing's the source of those fairies' powers? Chow asked. From Hawk Fu's observations, yes. Valment confirmed. So, what do you wanna do with it, Big V? Finn asked. Those so-called fairies had the demeanor of children. Hawk Fu said. However, if we were to harness their power for ourselves. Just imagine the devastation we could unleash. Does that mean we have to wear those skirts? Ratso asked. Don't worry, we won't be using this crystal's power. Valment revealed, much to the surprise of his enforcers. That's a bit of a surprise. Finn said. Yeah, you're usually on board with getting magic powers. Chow noticed. Yes, that is until we meet that pestilent lizard, Shendu, and he drove our syndicate into the ground searching for his talismans and the portals for his demon brethren. Valment exclaimed. This clearly has powers, but I much rather avoid getting into another ridiculous magical squalor. The talismans we have may be magic, but that is as far as we go. Each of the enforcers knew Valment made a good point. Arguably, meeting Shendu was what set the chain of events in motion that led to the ruin of the Dark Hand. Best to avoid that sort of scenario if they want to rebuild their organization. So, what will we do with this crystal? Hawk Fu asked. We'll sell it along with the other artifacts we've preceded. Valment said. And since these fairy girls are affiliate with Chan, he'll be too busy trying to locate it once it's sold, giving us more time to resurrect the Dark Hand. So, is everything prepared? All set Big V. Finn said. I sent the word out when we got back, and we already got some pretty big buyers coming in tonight. By the time we're done, we'll be rolling in dough. Dough? Are we making cookies? Ratso asked, causing everyone else to groan in annoyance as Valment looked toward the Heart of Kandrakar with an evil smile. Silver Dragon. What do you mean you lost the Heart of Kandrakar? Caleb shouted as he, Jackie, Cornelia, Jade, Irma, Uncle, Terani, Heilin, Toru, and Yanlin all looked towards the shocked Will as it looked as if she was about to have a panic attack. I completely turned my room upside down. Will exclaimed. I flipped over my bed, my desk, I tore apart my closet but it just wasn't there. I know I put it away on my desk before I went to bed but now, ow. How could you have lost Heart of Kandrakar? Uncle exclaimed after dope slapping Will. Crystal is source of your powers, and you are keeper of heart. You are bad guardian. That is quite enough. Yan Lin put her hand on the old Kai wizard's shoulder. Panicking and blaming one another will not find the crystal. Miss Lin is right. Jackie nodded. He turned towards Will as she hung her head. I'm sorry, I just. Will, no one is blaming you. Jackie began. I am. Caleb raised his hand only to get elbowed by Cornelia and Jade in the side. Ow. I need you to calm down. Jackie continued to speak to Will. Take a deep breath. He took his own deep breath for emphasis. Will did the same and this managed to calm her down a bit. Alright, now did you notice anything odd when you woke up? Maybe someone broke into your room last night. Terani asked. My window wasn't broken, Will said. Was anything else missing? Yan Lin asked. No, just the heart. Will replied. So whoever is responsible was looking for the heart specifically. Toru assumed. Maybe one of Phobos guys. Like that evil wizard. Heilin guessed. Impossible. Uncle pointed out. Uncle would have had the willies if Daolon Wong appeared. Yeah, because everyone trusts the old guy's goosebumps. Irma muttered sarcastically. Even if it was one of Phobos' henchmen, I doubt they would have just settled with taking the heart. Caleb pointed. Will would have also likely have been captured or killed in her sleep if that was the case. Will didn't like the idea of being kidnapped again or killed in her sleep, but Jackie put a hand on her shoulder to calm her down. Jade snapped her fingers in realization. What if it was Valment? That got everyone's attention. Think about it, he probably saw our fight, and he wanted the heart's power for himself. So, he used the talismans to sneak in, grab it, and run off with it. That actually makes sense. Cornelia said. Who is this, Valment, person? Caleb asked. Oh, just your typical crime lord bad guy. Hey Lin gave the short of it. Valment is a very dangerous man. Jackie explained. A dangerous criminal whom I've dealt with several times. You know, now that I think about it, will remembered something. My window wasn't broken, but it was opened, and I know I closed it last night, and the lock was melted. So, he used the dragon talisman to melt the lock, and the snake talisman with the monkey talisman to shapeshift into something small and turn invisible to grab the heart and leave without making a ruckus. Jade said. How'd you figure that out? Terani asked. Lucy guess. Jade shrugged. So, if this Valment has stolen the heart, let's find him and get it back. Caleb stated. Unfortunately, Caleb, it's not that simple. Toru said. Valment is a very resourceful man and he is exceptional when it comes to hiding. He could be anywhere in the city. And Heatherfield is a pretty big town, so it's gonna be like looking for a needle in a haystack. Cornelia said. Perhaps I can help. They all looked toward the main entrance of the restaurant to see Captain Black walk in with a bag over his shoulder. Caleb immediately took a combat stance. Who are you? He demanded, but Jackie and Jade quickly blocked his path. Whoa, hold on rebel boy, he's a friend. Jade told him. Caleb, this is Captain Black. Jackie began. He's a personal friend of mine, and the head of Section 13, a law enforcement agency in our world. He turned to his friend. Captain Black, this young man is Caleb, he is the leader of the rebellion in Meridian. A pleasure. Captain Black offered his hand for Caleb to shake, which he did. Same, and sorry about earlier. No harm done. Captain Black, sir, you said you could help us find the heart. Will asked. I think I may have a way. Captain Black responded before turning to the elderly woman, Yan Lin. Is there any place private we could speak? These are rather classified files that I have. Yes, right this way. Yan Lin led everyone into the basement so they could speak privately. Everyone sat down at a table as Captain Black took out a file folder and handed Jackie a set of photographs showing multiple jade statues. Oh, I recognize these pieces, some of the finest pieces of Emperor's jade ever to exist. Jackie said. Until they vanished. Captain Black said as Jackie put the photos down and several of the girls, even Uncle, looked at all the pictures. Wow, look at this stuff. Terani said. I've never seen jade this fine. Most impressive indeed. Uncle seemed to agree. Wow, didn't know I was so impressive. Jade smirked. I think they're talking about the stone, not you Jade. Irma pointed out. Captain Black meanwhile continued to explain. As you know Jackie, the collection of nearly a dozen Chinese museums have been hit over the last decade, and the thefts have the same thing in common. No prints, no tracks, no suspects. Jackie stated. Until now. Captain Black placed a photo of an elderly Taiwanese man with a prosthetic hand made from jade. Section 13 agents have been tracking the movements of Taiwanese billionaire Bartholomew Chong. I think I've heard of that guy. Cornelia said. My dad read some newspapers about him. Isn't he some kind of big philanthropist? What is a philanthropist? Caleb asked. Basically, a rich guy who donates to charity and does other good things. Irma gave a crude summary. However, Chong is one of our primary suspects for all these thefts. Captain Black said. I would think so too. Toru said. I used to work for Valment, and I have heard him making deals with Chong before, but I've never met the man face to face. So, he's like a billionaire who pretends to be a good guy but is really a bad guy. Sounds like a real kingpin of crime. Cornelia said. Hey what happened to his hand? Will asked looking at a photo of Chong that showed his jade prosthetic. Iron Fist competition. Captain Black answered. What's that? Hey Lin asked. You know those karate moves that let you slice through bricks with your hands? Jade answered motioning her hand to chop through the table. It didn't take long for the 5 girls to put 2 and 2 together causing them all to wince. Ouch. Irma winced. However, we cannot make any moves to arrest Chong without absolute proof that he is behind all of this. Ow. Captain Black felt his forehead where Uncle Dope slapped him. We are looking for Valment, not Jade Thief. Uncle exclaimed to Captain Black. How is this supposed to lead us to Heart of Kandrakar? I'm quite certain that Captain Black was getting to that, Jin. Yan Lin calmed the elderly man down. Please continue, Captain. Thank you. Captain Black nodded. As you all know, Valment and his enforcers were previously based in San Francisco, but after stealing the talismans, they went cross-country, hitting multiple banks and museums along the way. Many of the artifacts stolen are made from Emperor's Jade as well. It didn't take long to figure out where Captain Black was going. So, Valment is going to try and sell this stuff to Chong. Jade figured it out. That is indeed our assumption. Captain Black nodded. We have also confirmed that Chong has landed in New York early this morning around 3 a.m. However, we have since lost track of him. Odds are, he is here in Heatherfield trying to find and meet with Valment. Wherever he is, I believe that this heart of Kandrakar will be as well. Alright, so where do we find him? Caleb asked. That is the problem, Captain Black said. While we still believe that the Dark Hand is hiding somewhere in Heatherfield, we do not know where exactly. In addition, there are several more complications. What sort of complications? Jackie asked. I do not like where this is going. Will gulped. Valment may be hosting an auction soon, where he intends to sell the artifacts that he has stolen. Captain Black explained. And it's not just Chong who will be attending. He pulled out 3 photos from his file. Recently, 3 dangerous criminals have escaped from prison and we have managed to track them here, but we do not know where exactly they are. Jackie, I trust you've already met them. He handed his friend the photos as Jackie's eyes widened and Ha gave an audible gasp as he did recognize them all. One was an elderly bald man with a white beard and a red outfit, another was a tan-skinned woman with long blonde hair and a red trench coat, and the last one was a middle-aged Japanese man with black hair and a purple robe. Jade looked over Jackie's shoulder and looked in surprise at the people in those photos. Whoa. The 5 guardians all looked a bit confused. Are you gonna tell us what you're so surprised over or what? Cornelia questioned. Jackie put the photos on the table for the girls and everyone else to see. These people are very dangerous, and I would not recommend anybody facing them. Who are these people? Caleb asked as they all looked at the photos. Drive Ashby Necrosis. Captain Black began to list them all. A mad scientist, also known as the kingpin of techno-crime. He has a proclivity for creating doomsday devices. Vanessa Barone, an international mercenary and relic hunter who is more than skilled at hand-to-hand combat. And finally, Kuniko Kasahara, alias Origami, arguably the most dangerous of them all. He possessed the ability to transform into living paper and shape his body into whatever form or weapon he chooses. Yeah, but Jackie fought and put them all away before, this shouldn't be too hard. Jade said. Wait, hold on, I get the mad scientist and treasure hunter, but a paper man? Will asked. That doesn't sound all that dangerous to me. Have you ever had a paper cut, Will? Jackie asked, to which she nodded. Well, this man can make his paper body sharp enough to cut through solid steel. So, you would be lucky if he did not cut off your limbs. Will gulped, instantly regretting underestimating this Origami guy. So, basically, we got a crime lord with henchmen armed to the teeth with magic talismans, a billionaire bad guy obsessed with Jade, a mad scientist, a treasure hunter, and a real-life supervillain with magic powers. Cornelia listed. Man, talk about a real Legion of Doom. Irma said. This will certainly be difficult. Toru nodded. And without the heart of Kandrakar we can't transform and use our powers. We're at a total disadvantage here. Terani exclaimed. I know. Captain Black said as he walked up the stairs that led out of the basement. Which is why I called in reinforcements who have dealt with this sort of thing before, whom I know that you are also familiar with. Jackie. Jackie looked in surprise as large grin formed on Jade's face as she knew who exactly Captain Black was talking about. Oh yes. Jade smirked just as Captain Black opened the door to reveal 3 people who just joined the party. One was an attractive young woman with tan skin and long black hair wearing a dark gray cat suit. Another was a large man wearing a black and yellow wrestling outfit and a red mask with the insignia of a bull at the forehead, and right by his side was a boy around Jade's age with a green shirt, brown pants, and sandals. Jade smiled to her friends, Guardians of the Veil, meet the J-Team. El Toro Fuerte, luchador wrestler extraordinaire. Viper, former super thief and mistress of Aikido, Karate, and Krav Maga, and El Toro's sidekick, Paco. She introduced the last one with less enthusiasm than the others. I am El Toro's protege, Jade. The young Mexican boy exclaimed. Wait, J team. Terraini voiced in confusion. Uncle Jackie, you got your own team. Hey Lin beamed excitedly. Is that big guy a Mexican wrestler? Irma asked. Is she supposed to be Catwoman or something? Cornelia questioned. Everyone, please calm down. Jackie began to explain to the girls. These are personal friends of mine. As Jade has already introduced, El Toro Fuerte is a professional Mexican wrestler and Viper is a former thief turned security consoler. Hello señoras. El Toro bowed his head respectively. A pleasure to meet you all. Likewise. Yan Lin bowed her head. I've heard much about you as well from Jin's letters. So, these are the witch girls that Jade's told me about, huh? Viper looked around with her usual grin on her face. Wait, Jade told you about us? Will asked in surprise. We're pen pals. Viper patted the younger girl's head. I'm also glad she's making more friends. So, these are some of your world's best warriors? Caleb asked Toru. They are more than capable of handling themselves and even have experience battling the forces of darkness alongside us. Toru responded. Senor Black has informed us of the situation already. El Toro revealed. We are to track the Dark Hand and retrieve this, Heart of Kandrakar, as you call it before it's sold to the hands of criminals. And kick plenty of bad guy butt doing it. Jade exclaimed excitedly. Of course, it'll be El Toro who will be kicking the most butt, Jade. Paco told her. I think you mean Jackie. Jade argued. El Toro. Jackie. El Toro. Jackie. Excuse me. Terraini got everyone's attention. This is great and all, but does anyone here have any idea how to find the bad guys? This caused everyone to look towards each other in confusion as very few had an idea where to start. I already have Section 13 looking through satellite surveillance. Ow. Captain Black felt his forehead where Uncle slapped him. Can your satellite surveillance track magic? No. Uncle exclaimed. Uncle will devise locator spell. Actually, I think I already have an idea. Jade walked to the corner of the room where a large trash can was located before she kicked the can down and spilled its contents, including a certain pasling. Ah. Why wake Blanc up? Blanc not steal anything. The pasling known as Blanc wine. I didn't know toads grew so big in America. Paco pointed out as most of the group simply looked annoyed or unsurprised while Captain Black, Viper, and El Toro were just confused. What exactly is that supposed to be? Viper pointed in minor disgust. And why does it smell worse than fish guts? This is Blanc. Jackie explained. He is a creature from the realm of Meridian called a pasling. And he can sniff out magic. Jade added. Which could lead us to the heart of Kandrakar. Will's eyes widened in realization with a smile. Jade, you're a genius. I know. Jade smirked with crossed arms. We must hurry. Uncle exclaimed, getting everyone's attention. While the heart may be in Valment's possession right now, it may only be a matter of time till the forces of darkness learn what has transpired as well. However, while everyone in the large group began to discuss their plan, they all failed to notice that there was indeed someone listening on their conversation. Just outside the window of the basement, out near the sidewalk and close to the alleyway outside the building was another pasling that looked similar to Blanc, but quite different. He appeared to be somewhat bigger than Blanc, with a red shirt and black pants, gray skin, and long white hair off the side of his bald head. This pasling snickered evilly once he heard this news. He had followed Blanc through a portal into Earth early this morning, hoping to find something worth selling, but never could he have imagined that the new Guardians would lose the heart of Kandrakar. Oh, he was going to be handsomely rewarded for this. He went into the alleyway and turned one corner where a portal was still open. He jumped through and made his way back to Meridian. Phobos. Castle, throne room. The Guardians have lost the heart of Kandrakar. Prince Phobos exclaimed in surprise as he stood up from his throne. Both Cedric, in his human form, and Daolan Wang were at the sides of his throne and looked with interest as well. Yes. Jeek heard everything. The pasling identified as Jeek answered as he bowed to Phobos. Guardians get help from Earth warriors to find heart. Heart in hands of man named Valment. Wang snickered. To lose the source of their own power so carelessly. These girls really are novices. And this Valment character seeks to sell the heart. Cedric asked Jeek. Yes, to other Earth criminals. But Guardians and Earth warriors won't find it first. Jeek stated. My prince, I can easily locate the heart's power and bring it to you. Wang told Phobos. Perhaps it is best you simply tell me its location, Wong, and I'll retrieve it personally. Cedric addressed the Dark Kai wizard who glared at him. Only for you to fail. This requires precision, but blunt force. Wong replied as the two glared at one another. Enough. Phobos exclaimed, ending their argument. Cedric, Wong, you will both go to Earth. Purchase the heart if you can, but if not, take it by force and bring it to me. Both of us, my liege? Cedric asked, not liking the idea of working with Daolon Wong, who didn't seem too keen on the idea himself. You are both my greatest assets, and even though the Guardians may be powerless right now, they will undoubtedly have the aid of Jackie Chan and his associates. Wong said, I underestimated that warrior before, it will not happen again. You will work together. The two glanced at each other angrily before bowing. As you wish, they both said simultaneously. Phobos smirked. Excellent work, Jeek, he told the pasling as he took out a sack filled with jewels and gold. Take your reward. He threw the sack at Jeek, who caught it and snickered evilly. Earth. Evening. Thanks to Blunk's ability to sniff out magic, the combined group of heroes had managed to track the heart of Kandrakar's location to a large warehouse located at the docks. Already, both Jackie and Viper were on the move as they were both dressed in black and followed Blunk onto a rooftop of one warehouse. They ran quietly and jumped onto the next one over before climbing up a series of poles onto the largest building in the area before Blunk led them to a skylight. See. Blunk can smell. Blunk find heart. He pointed into the skylight where they could see Valment standing on a makeshift stage alongside his 4 enforcers. Huh, for some magic alien toad, he could give bloodhounds a run for their money. Viper commented. Good work, Blunk. Jackie told the pasling as he reached into a small sack. Blunk lead Jackie to heart. Jade promised Blunk something called donut. Right here, handsome. Viper gave Blunk a pink donut which he ate instantly just as Jackie pulled out a small handheld camera. Donut. Blunk moaned with a smile as he drooled like an animal. Captain Black, are you seeing this? Jackie asked through a communications device as his camera turned on. From within a large surveillance van just outside the docks, Captain Black had managed to get the video feed from the camera onto a screen. I got it, Jackie. He said as Will, Jade, Terani, Uncle, El Toro, Helin, Paco, Cornelia, Toru, and Caleb were all in the van that was thankfully large enough to contain all of them, though it was still a bit of a tight squeeze. Now I know what sardines feel like, Will said, feeling a bit cramped. Yeah, that's what we get for sharking space with a sumo and Mexican wrestler. Irma said. Sorry. El Toro apologized while Toru offered an apologetic smile. Move over, I wanna see which bad guys showed up. Jade tried to get in close to Captain Black along with Caleb and Paco to see the video screen of who was attending this auction. All the people present were those whom Captain Black had previously identified along with some extra personnel. Bartholomew Chong sat on a chair accompanied by 3 bodyguards. 2 large men, one with orange hair and one with blonde hair, and a brown-skinned woman with dark brown hair and fat buns on the sides of her head. All 3 wore white karate outfits. Dr. Ashby Necrosis also sat on a chair with his loyal henchman Hoyle, a man with a long purple jacket and magenta scarf. Vanessa Barone sat by herself. Guess she was so confident in her own skills that she didn't feel she needed a bodyguard. Origami was present as well, though he sat by himself, no need to explain why he didn't have any bodyguards. However, there were 2 additional people who sat near the back that caught everyone's attention. Wait, who's that? Caleb pointed to the 2 mysterious personnel. Jackie, zoomed in on the far left corner. Captain Black contacted through the communications device in his ear. The video feed zoomed in on the pair, though one appeared to be a tall man, he was unrecognizable due to the green hooded robe he wore, but Jade recognized the shorter, more elderly man that was next to him. Uh-oh, Dark Wizard alert. Jade exclaimed. Uncle saw the feed and gasped. Daolon Wong. Everyone else saw the video as well. But who's that other guy with him? Hey Lin asked. Can't see his face. Maybe someone else working for Phobos. Terani assumed. My gut's telling me it's Cedric. Caleb glared. Who is Cedric? El Toro asked. A giant snake man working for the bad guys. Cornelia answered. He doesn't look all that giant to me. Paco pointed out. Cedric is a shapeshifter. Toru explained. He can change in between his monstrous form to that of a normal human. Though we have never seen his human appearance before. Forces of darkness, no criminals have heart of Kandrakar. Uncle stated. Well duh. Cornelia rolled her eyes. Everyone keep it down. Captain Black told the group. It's starting. Good evening everyone, Valment began to speak. Warehouse. Thank you all for coming. Valment spoke to the villains gathered, including the listening Jackie, Viper, and Blanc from the roof, whom he didn't notice as his enforcers brought out several large crates and boxes. It feels so good to see so many familiar faces. He spoke, glancing towards Chong, who nodded in his direction. Even some new ones. Now, without further delay, let us begin. From that point forward, Valment began to show off many of the artifacts he procured from the museums his enforcers hid while making their way here from San Francisco. He presented pretty much everything from statues, to vases, to ancient jewelry, even several paintings. He sold nearly every artifact he presented at reasonable prices ranging from 500,000 at the lowest to 1 million at the highest so far. Origami had purchased most of the paintings, most notably those from the Far East. Necrosis appeared very selective about his acquisitions, mostly looking for something that he could either sell himself or incorporate into whatever doomsday device his deranged mind could conceive. Vanessa's purchases were mostly jewelry and gems, while Chong was also very selective, purchasing only what few Emperor's Jade artifacts Valment had with him. Wong and Cedric purchased nothing, as they were here for one thing only. Sold. To the lovely Vanessa Barone. Valment had sold one golden necklace with an opal at the center as Finn handed her the necklace. Here's number 2, if you're interested. Finn winked as he handed a piece of paper with his phone number the attractive woman before walking away. Vanessa merely rolled her eyes before throwing the paper away. And now, for the final piece of the night. Valment began as Hawk Fu presented a briefcase. A very unique artifact, unlike anything seen in the world. Everyone was listening to him, including Phobos and Cedric in the back, along with Jackie, Viper, and Blanc on the roof, and everyone else listening from the surveillance van outside as they all paid close attention as Valment opened the briefcase and pulled out the glowing crystal pendant known as the Heart of Kandrakar. This mysterious little gem may seem small, but I assure you, it has more value than all the treasures I have sold to you all tonight combined. Valment eagerly presented it to all the criminals and villains as listened with interest. Its origin is unknown, but it is said to contain powerful and potent magic inside. While that may sound rather fantastic, I'm quite certain that nearly everyone present has seen plenty to make them all believe in the impossible. So, I will open the bidding at $500,000. 700,000. Vanessa immediately got on board. That treasure could help her to locate even more artifacts than ever thought possible. 900,000. Origami raised his hand, already thinking on using the power inside the pendant to increase his own. 1,200,000. Dr. Necrosis stood up. Something like that could potentially power 100 doomsday devices. 1,500,000. Origami challenged. 2 million. Vanessa exclaimed. 3 million. Dr. Necrosis bid even higher. We have in our possession 20 pounds of gold and gems rarer than you would find anywhere in the world. Cedric finally spoke up as Wong held a large bag in his hand. Hold the bid. Valment paused the auction for a moment. How much did you say? Hawk Fu quickly did a jump from the stage all the way to the back of the room to take the bag from Wong before flipping back on stage. He opened the sack as Valment and his enforcers looked in shock at the shiny artifacts present. Whoa! Finn exclaimed. It's so shiny, Ratso smiled. That's a lot of treasure right there. Chow pointed out. Valment straightened himself out. Yes, well, 20 pounds of gold however is only worth just under 500,000 and we already have a bid that is 6 times the amount. What if we offered a powerful magical artifact as well? Wong offered as he pulled out what appeared to be a crystal skull and levitated it towards Valment, who took it in his hands. That skull will grant you powers unlike any human has ever had before. You would be unstoppable. Valment raised a skeptic eyebrow. Is there a catch? Would I have to sell my soul or strike a deal with a demon to obtain this power? Oh no, just a drop of your blood will do, and you will find yourself truly invincible. Cedric assured with an evil smile. Valment liked the idea. As long as he didn't have to deal with a sentient evil creature like before, He could handle another magical item of power in addition to the talismans. Very well. We have the bidding at 20 pounds of gold and diamonds, and this rare artifact. Going once, going twice. $5 billion. Everyone, both hero and villain, in present and affair, found their eyes traced towards the man who just made the largest bid made tonight. Chong, who sat cross-legged and comfortably in his chair with a raised prosthetic jade hand and a casual smile. $5 billion. Finn, Ratso, and Chow all exclaimed at the same time. Now that's a ton of dough. Finn stated. What about that magic skull thing? Ratso asked. We already possess the talismans, such a thing is trivial. Hawk Fu said. So, what's the plan, boss? Chow asked Valment, who stood up straight, considering the bid before making a decision. We have the bidding at 5 billion. Going once, going twice, sold. To the generous Mr. Chong. And with that, this auction has come to a close. I thank you all for coming. Valment said as he slipped the crystal skull into his coat for safekeeping. He'd be taking it anyway. While Chong smiled almost evilly, Cedric and Wong glared in his direction. On the rooftop, Jackie, Viper, and Blanc had heard and seen everything they needed to. Well, good to know that thing is worth so much. Viper tried to put in a little humor. We must retrieve the heart as soon as possible before Wong or Cedric. Jackie was about to say something, but Blanc pulled on his shirt. Wait, pretty man has crystal skull. Crystal skull bad. Blanc pointed to Valment as he walked off the stage just as everyone was standing up and preparing to leave. You know what that thing is? Viper asked Blanc in mild surprise. Yes. Blanc nodded. Blanc seen bad wizard use skull on soldiers. Crystal skull make big armor, hurt rebels very bad. Jackie looked in surprise before accessing his communications device. Uncle, did hear that? The artifact Valment has. Iya. Uncle exclaimed over the earpiece, causing Jackie to wince. Crystal skull not important. Heart of Kandrakar is. Chong may possess heart now, but Cedric and Daolan Wong will try to take it by force. You must retrieve heart before forces of darkness do. Go now. Chong was led to a limousine outside by his 3 bodyguards as he opened the briefcase he held, the pink light from the heart of Kandrakar shining on his face and illuminating his evil smile. This will do me great wonders. However, before he could enter his limousine, the door was quickly closed by the sudden appearance by the hooded Cedric as he glared at the crime lord, while his 3 bodyguards stood at the ready. Can I help you? Chong questioned. You have something that we desire, so we will be taking it. Cedric said. I purchased this fairly, sir. Chong rebutted. If you feel that is not just, perhaps you should have offered more than simple gold. Oh, but you misunderstand. Daolan Wong suddenly appeared behind him. We are not asking. Right as he said that, Cedric's eyes became reptilian slits and he transformed dramatically into his hulking humanoid snake form, startling Chong as his guards surrounded him protectively. Gone. Ren. Kui. Wong had summoned his Dark Kai warriors who immediately leapt to dispatch Chang's guards. Gon punched the blonde man, Ren kicked the woman, and Kui lifted up the other man and threw him into the water off the docks with the rest of his guards just as Cedric had picked up the surprised Chong by the back of his shirt and pried the case containing the heart of Kandrakar from his hands. At last, Cedric hissed gleefully. The heart of Kandrakar is. Suddenly the case was telekinetically pulled from Cedric's massive hand and straight towards Finn, courtesy of the rooster talisman as he stood with Valment, Ratso, Chow, and Hawk Fu. What's all this then? Valment questioned as Cedric casually tossed Chong over his shoulder and into the water. Is that a giant snake or what? Ratso pointed out. At this point, nothing surprises me anymore. Chow sighed. Mortal, you will give us the heart of Kandrakar now. Cedric warned. Heart of Kandrakar, so that's what it's called. Valment mused with an intrigued grin. You have no idea the power that holds. Wong stated. Return it to us or suffer dire consequences. He warned as his Dark Kai warriors drew their respective weapons and Cedric hissed. Oh, I have a dire consequence for you as well. Valment sneered. Boys. Finn shot a pair of heat beam eyes while Chow blasted a stream of fire from his palm, courtesy of the pig and dragon talismans respectively. Each one hit Cedric hard and sent him crashing over the dock and into the river. Ratso suddenly zoomed over and delivered a quick sweeping punch to knock all 3 Dark Kai warriors back, but Wong was able to shield himself with a wall of dark magic. The Dark Kai wizard looked in surprise. You possess the talismans of Shendu. Also you know of the talismans, do you? Valment still had his smile as he held the briefcase in his hands. Then I trust you know what will happen to you if you should try to steal from us. Suddenly however, a whip appeared and ensnared the handle of the box, snatching it from Valment's hands much to his and his enforcer's shock. The whip belonged to Vanessa Barone as she grabbed the case for herself as she stood on a pile of crates. Sorry love, but as they say, no honor among thieves. Ah. She felt her shoulder as an elongated streak of paper sliced the side of her arm, forcing her to drop it where it fell into another elongated streak that recoiled and drew back to Origami. I believe that this artifact would be better suited in a vault as opposed to the grubby hands of an insolent treasure hunter. Origami sneered as Vanessa glared at him. However, Origami quickly folded his body into a thin sheet of paper to avoid some incoming razor-sharp cards thrown at him as the briefcase he was holding was pulled away by a magnetic force. The case was then retrieved by Dr. Necrosis as he held a magnetic device in his hand while his henchman Hoyle held his card weapons in his hand. Looks like you fellas lost this hand. Hoyle smirked. You fools don't realize that this artifact contains great power. And what good is power if you don't use it? Necrosis stated. Whoa, everyone's wanting that heart thing. Ratso voiced in surprise. Must really be something else. Chow stated. Valment growled and glared at each of the individuals who just tried to steal it from him, but everyone's attention was caught by Cedric who burst out from under the docks with a roar as Wong re-summoned his Dark Kai warriors. It was an intense stare down as Valment and his 4 enforcers glared at everyone present. Wong held his glowing staff at the ready as his Dark Kai warriors wielded their respective weapons while Cedric hissed. Vanessa cracked her whip, Origami's arms converted into paper blades, Hoyle held his razor-sharp cards as Necrosis put on a gauntlet-like device. Even Chong pulled himself out of the river and onto the docks to glare at the villains all present. After a minute of intense staring, it was on. Attack! Valment and Wong ordered at the same time. Every villain present yelled as they all charged and clashed at each other. Hawk Fu roared as he leapt into the air to deliver a flying kick to Cedric's face. Vanessa cracked her whip at Gon who parried it with his staff. Kui swung his hammer at Ratso who used the rabbit talisman's speed to zoom around it. Finn and Ratso fired eye-beams and combustion blasts respectively at Wong who shielded himself with dark magic, leaving them open for Ren to toss his shuriken weapon at the 2 enforcers, forcing them to duck. Hoyle threw his razor cards at Origami who used his paper arm blades to slice through and parry them while Necrosis used his gauntlet to fire a laser beam at Cedric who held Hawk Fu by his foot to blast him back. As chaos ensued all around the docks and outside of the warehouse, Jackie, Viper, and Blanc had slid down the side of the building and were a safe distance away. Well, so much for the stealth option. Viper commented. We should have Captain Black call Section 13 and gather reinforcements as soon as possible. Jackie said. Yeah, probably a good idea. Viper agreed. Why Jade running to battle? Blanc asked. What? Jackie questioned as he saw Blanc pointing towards Jade sneaking around a corner, close to Necrosis, who hadn't noticed her presence yet. Jade was so close to the case that Necrosis continued to hold but couldn't think of a way to get it without him noticing or drawing the attention of the other villains. That is until she spotted a stray card from Hoyle lying on the ground. She smirked as she picked it up. Looks like I got a trump card. Jade whispered to herself as she tossed the card at Necrosis' leg, forcing him to fall to his knee and grab his scratch, while consequently dropping the briefcase he held, which Jade was quick to snatch without anyone noticing before running back into the alleyway. Jade had made it a safe distance away when both Jackie and Will came in from separate directions. Jade, why'd you just vanish like that? The red-haired girl questioned, causing Jackie to look in surprise at Will's presence. Will, what are you doing here? Jade just disappeared from the van so I went to find her and, Will tried to explain. Talk later, right now, it's time to guardian up. Jade opened the briefcase to reveal the heart of Kandrakar, much to their surprise. You got the heart, Will exclaimed. Jade scoffed. Like I was just gonna sit back and do nothing. She glanced behind her uncle and friend. And it looks like the whole gang showed up. Jackie and Will turned around to see their friends and allies, Toru, Irma, Cornelia, Heylin, Terani, Uncle, Viper, Captain Black, El Toro, and Caleb all gathered together, even Paco and Blanc were all present. Jade smirked. Avengers assemble. Will you do the honors? Will looked a bit unsure as she took the heart in her hands, still reeling over how she lost it earlier, but Jackie put a hand on her shoulder as he smiled and nodded. This simple gesture was enough to renew her confidence as she smiled and said two simple words. Guardians unite. With a bright flash of pink light, all the fighting among the villains came to a halt as they all looked in shock at the glowing light coming from the alleyway. When it subsided, all 5 Guardians of the Veil had transformed and hovered in the air above the eager Jade team as they glared at all the villains. This madness ends now, Jackie declared. Yeah, what he said. Irma exclaimed. The Guardians. Wong and Cedric shouted in surprise at the same time. Chan, Valment, Vanessa, Origami, and Hawkfu all exclaimed. Agent Tag. Necrosis glared at Jackie, still mistaking him for his secret agent nemesis. Chong saw how everyone was glaring at the combined group of the J team and quickly took advantage of everyone's mutual hatred as he climbed onto his own limousine. Destroy them, he ordered as nearly every villain charged at the heroes who all charged in response as well. As they clashed, Chong hopped off his limousine and opened the trunk to reveal a container which he opened to show an assortment of other prosthetic hands shaped into fists and open hands for various uses. He removed his jade prosthetic and put on a black one that had blades coming out of its fingers. Jackie and Will found themselves surrounded by all 3 Dark Kai warriors, as well as Hoyle, while Toru clashed with Cedric, locking hands as they pressed their own strength against one another. Irma flew and landed in front of Ratso, who quickly used the snake talisman to turn invisible, much to her frustration before he quickly grabbed her in a bear hug. El Toro found himself face to face with Origami, who transformed his whole body to take the form of a paper warrior, but El Toro stood his ground as he readied himself for Origami's onslaught of paper blade attacks. Terraini backed up towards a wall and flew up to avoid a punch of super strength from Chao, who used the Ox Talisman before he tried to use the Dragon Talisman to shoot her down as Terraini responded with her own fire attack. Viper jumped and landed in front of Vanessa as the villainess cracked her whip and flailed it at Viper, who cartwheeled back to avoid it while Vanessa went off in pursuit. Payback time, Finn exclaimed as he flew with the Rooster Talisman and shot heat beam eyes at Hei Lin, who flew in the air to avoid them while Finn pursued her. Flying Dragon Corkscrew, Hawk Fu exclaimed as he jumped and spun his body with his arms outward for a spinning attack straight at Cornelia, who flew in the air to avoid it as Caleb ran and charged him, but Hawk Fu was ready. Iron Gorilla Fist. He threw a punch at Caleb, who gasped as he couldn't avoid it and was sent flying and crashing into the crates. Oh, you're gonna pay for that. Cornelia flew in and delivered a flying kick to Hawk Fu's face to knock him down. Captain Black had a gun pointed at a certain mad scientist. Drive Necrosis, you are under arrest. I think not, Captain. Necrosis fired a laser beam from his gauntlet at Captain Black, forcing him to roll out of the way as he fired his gun, but Necrosis' gauntlet activated an energy shield to block the bullets. Daolon Wong glared at the battle, specifically the Guardians, Chan, and their allies who just arrived. It wasn't supposed to be like this. If it weren't for these fools, he and Cedric would already have the heart. Of course, Valment and all the other criminals all had a hand in it as well with their own greed. I will destroy you all. Wong snarled. Hey golly. Wong turned toward the furthest end of the docks to see Uncle glaring at him while holding his titular blowfish. Wong vanished in a puff of dark blue smoke before reappearing 5 feet in front of Uncle. They both glared at each other before they shot blasts of their respective Kai magic at one another, resulting in a beam clash. Meanwhile, Jade, Paco, and Blanc watched this large battle royal ensuing from a nearby alleyway. Now this is a fight. Jade exclaimed in joy as she motioned punches. For once, Jade, I agree. Paco said. I even got popcorn. He brought out a bowl from seemingly out of nowhere. Ooh. Blanc took a piece and ate it before Jade and Paco ate some of it as well while watching the show. Will had flown Jackie back as they tried to avoid the flying cards, shuriken, and hammer tossed at them by the Dark Kai warriors and Hoyle before coming towards a small building. Will, put me down. Jackie told her, causing her to let him go and land on the ground where he picked up a steel pole, while Will took a chain off the wall just as the Dark Kai warriors were already on Jackie. He parried the pole against all 3 of their weapons while Will spun and flailed the chain like a whip to block the cards Hoyle threw in her direction. Jackie paired his pole against Gan's staff before putting one end to the ground and using his feet to lock it down before striking Gan in the face with his pole. He ducked to avoid a toss of the shuriken by Ren but apparently didn't see Kui coming in from behind with his hammer, but Jackie noticed his large shadow and turned around to block the hammer in time. But the large hammer was able to bend the pole beyond recognition, but Jackie still used it to bend himself backwards to pull Kui down, where he used his feet to push and kick Kui back into Ren and Gan and knock them down. However, Jackie didn't have time to celebrate as he noticed Valment trying to make a break for it. "Valment is getting away. Go, we can handle this," Will told Jackie as she still used her chain to beat back Hoyle's cards. Jackie nodded and ran off after Valment. Will flew up into the air and was able to avoid the cards that Hoyle threw at her. She got close enough to try and flail the chain at him, but he rolled out of the way. "Pick a card, any card." He used his magnetic gloves to shoot out an entire deck of cards that quickly surrounded Will and spun at a pace so rapidly that one could almost see electricity from friction generated by their intense speed. "Sorry sweetie, but I still have my ace up my sleeve." Will rolled her eyes. "And I thought Hawk Fu was annoying." Hoyle laughed but was caught off guard by Jade, who came flying in with a kick to his stomach to knock him down and lose control of the card cage he kept Will trapped in. Hoyle got up and glared at Jade, but couldn't react in time to avoid Will's fist to his face, which was enough to knock him unconscious. "Thanks Jade," Will said to her friend. "No problem, look out." Jade warned Will in time as she moved out of the way from a slash of Chang's bladed prosthetic hand. He took a combative stance to show his bladed weapon as Will took her own kung fu stance that Jackie taught her and made a hand gesture to bring it on. Valment had managed to run out the back door of the warehouse and make it to a helicopter, which either Vanessa or Necrosis piloted to get here, but it didn't matter to him for it would serve as his escape route. However, Jackie suddenly leapt in front of him, blocking his path to the helicopter. "Going somewhere, Valment?" Jackie glared at him. The crime lord glared at his nemesis briefly before he put on a casual smile. "Long time no see, Chan. I certainly didn't expect to see you here, or among fairies it would seem. These young ladies must be something truly special if you're associated with them. Tell me, what exactly is it that makes them so special? I doubt it's solely that heat of Kandrakar trinket everyone is so obsessed with. They are not your concern," Jackie told him. "The only thing you should be concerned with is which prison will you be locked up in. Well, if that's the case, then how about one last fight? For old time's sake." Valment stood firmly as he held his cane and made his own combative stance. Jackie was the first to attack with a series of punches and kicks that Valment blocked and paired with his cane and arms. Valment responded with a punch, which Jackie avoided before delivering multiple kicks towards Jackie's chest to knock him back. But Jackie got back up with a flip to deliver a roundhouse and knock Valment down. However, right as Valment got up, both he and Jackie backed away to avoid a certain large shuriken thrown in between them before it returned to the hands of the Dark Kai warrior Gon, who jumped in along with Ren and Kui and surrounded the pair. "Perfect," Valment said sarcastically. "More uninvited guests." Back at the docks, Toru continued to press against Cedric as they continued to grapple. But Cedric turned his body around to flail his tail at Toru and send him crashing into a warehouse. Cedric approached a pile of debris, but Toru's fist shot out of the pile into Cedric's face to stagger him back as Toru stood up and picked up two large pieces of stone debris in his hands and ran at Cedric to punch his makeshift weapons into Cedric's body and face before raising his hands and sandwiching the rocks into Cedric's head, crushing the rocks, but also doing some damage to Cedric before Toru ran and tackled him off the docks and into the water below. Captain Black was forced to take cover behind some boxes to avoid the energy blasts of Necrosis' gauntlet. He tried to shoot back with his pistol, but the gauntlet's energy shield was able to block all the bullets. Captain Black took cover again as Necrosis retaliated. He searched inside his coat pocket for anything useful and happened to find a can of knockout spray. Though he couldn't get close enough to actually use it, it did give him an idea. He threw it over the boxes. Necrosis shot it, thinking it was a weapon, but the blast spread the anesthetic gas over the area, also creating a smokescreen to blind Necrosis as the mad scientist coughed and covered his mouth while closing his eyes. But this left him open for Captain Black to punch him in the face and knock him out just as the makeshift smokescreen began to vanish. Knockout spray, never leave section 13 without it. Captain Black commented. Viper reeled back to avoid a whip attack from Vanessa that seemed to snap and crack open a box. Viper was quick to grab a broken piece of wood and use it as a makeshift shield to block the whip, allowing her to move in closer and deliver a kick to Vanessa's hand, forcing her to let go of her own whip and shoving the wooden plank up into Vanessa's face, blinding her and letting Viper punch through the wood into Vanessa's face, dealing twice the damage and sending her siding back onto the ground unconscious. I win. Viper tossed her hair back. El Toro was put at a distance to avoid the paper lashes from Origami's arms. This was not good for El Toro. Due to being a luchador, he was a close-distance fighter, but Origami had an advantage with long distance. El Toro grunted in pain as a paper slash grazed his arm, causing a bleeding cut. He glanced behind him to see Terani in a fire clash with her own fire powers against Chao's dragon talisman. He quickly got an idea. Terani had landed on the ground to face Chao when she heard El Toro call her Senora. She turned around to see El Toro running toward her. Tag team. He slapped her hand to exchange opponents as he ran and tackled the surprised Chao. Terani turned around to see Origami and smiled as she figured out what El Toro was trying to do. Origami lashed at Terani with his extended paper arms, but Terani flew in close and created a fireball in her hand. Hey, you know what happens when paper meets fire, right? She warned with a somewhat sinister grin, causing Origami's paper face to form into one of worry as Terani approached him and he backed away out of fear of being burnt up to ash in seconds. With fear filling his body, Origami folded his own body into a paper origami bird to take flight with Terani flying after him as El Toro squared off against Chao. The wrestler pulled Chao into a bear hug, but Chao used the strength from the Ox talisman to not only break out of his grip but also lift El Toro's larger body into the air. Me strong like Ox. Chao joked and insulted El Toro before throwing him all the way at a wall, causing it to crack from the impact. Blanc and Paco winced as they saw that. Masked man in trouble. Blanc exclaimed. Yes, El Toro needs our help. Come on. Paco grabbed Blanc's hand and ran toward the battle. El Toro groaned as he picked himself up to face Chao once more as he pointed his palm with the dragon talisman, ready to blast him. El Toro took his titular wrestling stance. If he was going down, he was going down fighting. El Toro fuerte. The wrestler looked behind Chao to see Paco and Blanc holding a long rope. Both the boy and Pasling pulled from opposite directions to stretch it out. El Toro smiled at his protégé's message before he ran at high speed past Chao, much to his confusion. El Toro ran into the rope, turned his body around as it stretched back and he slingshot himself at Chao and slammed his head into the surprised Chao to send him flying and crashing through several boxes near the warehouse. El Toro laughed. Good work, Paco. He patted his protégé on the head. You as well, Blanc. Blanc laughed as he held the rope in his hand. Trade mask for rope. Good deal, yes. El Toro fuerte never removes his mask. The wrestler said his code with pride, much to Blanc's dismay as Paco ran to Chao's unconscious body and picked up the dragon, ox, monkey, and rat talismans. Irma looked all over for the invisible ratso. Again. This is getting annoying. She then pulled the water out from under the docks and began to spray it all over just like before. This exposed ratso as his invisible form was covered with water, allowing Irma to come in with a punch and knock ratso down. I'll be taking these too. She reached into Ratso's coat and pulled out the snake, rabbit, horse and sheep talismans. No way she was forgetting about all that again. Will backed up to avoid the lashes of Chang's clawed prosthetic. Jade was quick to run to the open trunk of Chang's limo and saw the other prosthetic hands inside. Will could use some helping hands. She turned to her friend who just ducked over a slash, before Will gave a spinning kick to knock Chang down. Will, catch. She heard Jade call her name as she tossed her two prosthetic hands, one was a fist and the other was an open palm. Will looked curiously before a spoon popped out of the fist prosthetic and a toothbrush out the other hand. Jade laughed nervously. Always brush after soup. Will's eyelids lowered but was brought back to reality as Chang lashed at her with his claw again, but she used the spoon hand to block and parry his claw before shoving the toothbrush into Chang's mouth. She pulled it out and looked in confusion as she just realized she could fly and had super strength. Oh, why do I even need these? She told herself before throwing them away. She was able to clap her hands to catch a vertical strike from Chang's claw. He tried to pull away, but Will's grip was too strong. By the way, Freddy Krueger called. He wants his weapon back. She used her wings to hover in the air and spin her body, while consequently spinning Chong at a speed that seemed to look like Will was making a tornado before finally letting go and sending him flying and crashing into a large set of boxes. Nice one. Jade gave a friendly point to Jade. Thanks. Will smiled back, but both looked in surprise to see Toru trying to climb back up onto the docks from the water, but was suddenly pulled back in by Cedric. Toru. Jade exclaimed with worry. I got him. Will immediately flew and dove into the water. She swam as fast as she could to see Cedric holding Toru in a strong grip with his arms and tail. The giant snake man was trying to drown and squeeze him at the same time. But Will's own swimming talent, plus her enhanced physical abilities as a guardian, helped her to not only catch up to them at high speed but even deliver a punch to Cedric's face, forcing him to let go of Toru. Will was quick to grab Toru's hand and fly back up as fast as she could. They made it to the surface as Will helped Toru to catch his breath on the docks while Jade quickly ran up to him. You okay? Will asked her. I am, Toru said in between breaths. Thank you, Will. No problem, it's what friends do. Will smiled, causing Toru to smile back. Thank each other later. Snake guy's back. Jade pointed to the water as Cedric emerged from it with a roar. He was about to lash out when Viper came in with a kick to his face before landing on her feet. Guys like you give snakes a bad name. Viper glared at Cedric, who hissed in her direction before howling in pain as Captain Black came in with his pistol, shooting Cedric multiple times. Though the bullets did penetrate enough for the snake man to bleed, it wasn't deep enough for any permanent damage. He hissed with a glare as he faced Will, Toru, Jade, Viper, and Captain Black, all of whom looked ready to fight him with everything he had. Perhaps there are too many, he said to himself before diving back into the water for a strategic retreat. Yeah, get lost you cowardly snake. Jade blew raspberries in the direction Cedric retreated. No offense Viper. None taken. Haylin continued to fly in the air as Finn continued to chase her, blasting eye beams the whole way. As she flew, she also noticed Terani flying after Origami in a paper bird form while the Fire Guardian threw blasts of her own element at Origami, which he was able to avoid. An idea popped into her head as she flew closer towards Terani's chase. Hey Terani, throw a bunch of flames at me. Haylin called to her, causing the bespectacled girl to look in surprise. What? You wanna get burned? Just do it. Trust me. Haylin exclaimed. Terani shrugged before generating a large cluster of flames in her hand, which she launched at Haylin, who began to spin her body and generate a powerful wind current that she created a large tornado around herself. The flames were pulled into the tornado and a flaming vortex began to form around Haylin. Terani saw where this was going and threw even more flames at the vortex, causing it to become much more powerful before Haylin exploded her arms out to send a large burst of flaming winds all around the sky, hitting Finn at full force and blasting him towards the docks while a wave grazed Origami's flying form, already causing his body to catch fire. Origami screamed as he flew and dived straight towards the water to put out the flames. He popped out of the water in his humanoid form and could not access his powers while wet and only looked in fear as Terani hovered triumphantly over him. Yeah, wet paper. It's a real drag, isn't it? Terani teased as she grabbed Origami's wet paper body and began to crunch it up into a wet ball, much to Origami's dismay. Finn hit the ground hard. His suit was charred a bit and he was covered in some minor burns while also semi-conscious. Haylin landed near his downed body. Sorry, but since you're immortal you should live. Speaking of which, you won't be needing these anymore. She reached into his coat pocket to pull out the rooster, pig, dog, and tiger talismans. Cornelia used her earth powers to telekinetically pull together multiple boxes to take the form of a large humanoid beast, similar to what she did with the wooden table back in Meridian, but on a larger scale. She motioned for the box monster to try and punch Hawk Fu, but he leapt into the air to avoid the strike. Angry Crow takes flight. Hawk Fu took to the air and stuck out his foot to kick the head box off the box monster, causing it to fall apart as he landed and struck Cornelia across the face to knock her down. He was about to come in again with another punch, but Caleb brought a crowbar up to block his fist as he smiled cockily at the black tiger. Didn't your mother ever teach you it's not nice to hit a lady? Caleb used the crowbar like he would a sword to strike Hawk Fu, but he blocked and parried with his fists alone. Octopus fists of fury. Hawk Fu unleashed a volley of rapid punches to knock the crowbar out of Caleb's hands and knock him down. Guillotine kick. He tried to bring his foot down, but Caleb moved out of the way just in time. Gorilla snaps frail twig. Excuse me, Cornelia tried to pull herself up, getting Hawk Fu's attention. But what was that last one? I said, gorilla snaps. He didn't finish as this distracted him long enough for Cornelia to throw a large box at him and knock him back. You talk too much. Cornelia smirked as she brushed her hands off before offering Caleb a hand up, which he was quick to take with a smile. The only fight still going on was Uncle, who shot multiple Kai blasts from his blowfish to counter the dark Kai blasts from Daolan Wong, who waved his staff to create a wave of his dark magic, which Uncle was able to cancel out with a wave of his own Kai magic. The two seemed to be evenly matched. For a novice, your skills are impressive. Daolan Wong granted. However, you are a fool to think you can defeat me alone. Good thing Uncle is not alone. Uncle pointed behind Wong, who turned in surprise to see Caleb, Toru, Viper, El Toro, Captain Black, even Jade and Paco glaring at him, with Blanc on top of Toru's shoulder. They were joined in by Will, Irma, Terani, Cornelia, and Hei Lin, who hovered around him. Wong growled as he knew he couldn't beat everyone present. You may have won this battle, but the war has only just begun. He waved his staff to create a dark blue smokescreen. When it vanished, Wong was gone. Man, I hate it when the bad guys pull a last-minute getaway. Jade commented. However, none of them seemed to notice Finn, Ratso, and Chow were each enveloped by the same kind of spell by Daolan Wong and vanished when it disappeared. Well, at least we won, right? Hei Lin voiced. Did you get all the talismans? Uncle asked, getting to the point. Hei Lin, Irma, and El Toro showed that they each had 4 of the talismans, bringing the total to 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Yep, we got all 12. Jade counted to see they were all there. Before anyone else could celebrate, Will's eyes widened in realization when she realized someone was missing from their group. Wait, where's Jackie? Back at the helipad, both Jackie and even Valment were put on the defensive from the Dark Kai warriors they were still fighting, despite their master having fled the battle. Jackie dodged and ducked under Kui's hammer swings and Gan's staff strikes. Valment tried to parry his cane against Ren's bladed weapon, but it easily cut through and grazed Valment's chest, knocking him down and forcing the crystal skull that he had stored in his pocket to fall onto the ground. Valment felt his bleeding wound on his chest when he saw the skull, and his eyes widened when he looked at his palm to see there was some blood present. Didn't that hooded man say that blood was needed to activate this skull's power? With Gon looming over him and no time to think, Valment placed his bloody palm onto the skull, causing it to glow a bright blue color. This glow caught Jackie's attention as well as all 3 Dark Kai warriors. The glow changed from a bright blue to a vibrant red color as the glow enveloped Valment and he was suddenly engulfed by a bright flash of red light. When the glow subsided, Jackie gave an audible gasp at Valment's new appearance. He stood at least 12 feet tall with a large hulking appearance. His body appeared to have been completely enveloped in a large red skeleton made almost entirely out of energy with glowing purple crystal eyes. Inside the skeleton, Valment's form was still normal except for a red aura around him, and he appeared to be controlling the skeleton armor with his body inside. He bent his arms and fingers, and the skeleton armor did as well. Well, I'll be damned. Valment chuckled evilly as he looked at his newfound stature. I've never felt this kind of power since the talismans. It appears it was wise to keep that skull. The Dark Kai warriors drew their weapons again as they leapt at Valment, but his armored hands were able to catch Gon and Kui before smashing them into each other and causing them to vanish into smoke. He raised his hands and smashed both onto Ren, causing him to vanish into a puff of smoke as well. Well, I'd say that was a good warm-up. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Chan? Valment cracked his armored knuckles as he approached Jackie menacingly. Bad day. Jackie uttered as he dodged a punch, which created a large crater on the ground. Jackie maneuvered under the Juggernaut's legs and tried to get some distance, but Valment grabbed the helicopter and lifted into the air before throwing it at Jackie. He was able to barely dodge it as he fell to the ground and let it pass over him where it crashed and exploded in the warehouse. Jackie was suddenly pinned underneath the foot of the armored giant as Valment raised another fist. "Oh, how long I've waited for this. It's a shame though, Chan, I'll truly miss our periodic get-togethers." However, Valment was blasted back by a large blast of fire, courtesy of Jade with the dragon talisman. "Keep waiting, Valment," Jade exclaimed as she shot another blast at him. The Guardians joined in the fray as Terani, Irma, and Hei Lin shot blasts of fire, water, and wind respectively to add with Jade's own fire power. Cornelia used her powers to pull large rocks out of the ground and telekinetically threw them at Valment. Captain Black, El Toro, Toru, and Viper even ran in as well, while Uncle, Will, Caleb, Paco, and Blanc came to help up Jackie. "Jackie, are you okay?" Will asked him. "Yes, I am fine. Thank you." "What the heck is that?" Paco pointed in surprise at the giant glowing skeleton that Valment was controlling as it waved its arms around to swipe back everyone surrounding and attacking it. "Uncle, please tell me you've seen this before." Jackie hopped. "No, Uncle has never seen glowing skeleton before." Uncle replied. "I have." Caleb began. "I read about in a legend, the armor of the crystal skull. Add a drop of your own blood to it, and it becomes a near unstoppable armor of solid magic that no normal weapons can destroy." Blanc seen Phobos place skull in Valten Castle. Blanc said, "Never seen it used before. So, how do we stop it?" Jackie asked. "The legend says, you can destroy the armor if the skull is removed. But it would take an immense amount of strength." Caleb said. "Good thing. Ox talisman of strength, very handy," Uncle said as they saw everyone trying to fight. Valment waved his arms to shoo away the guardians surrounding him. He heard El Toro giving his titular yell as well as Toru yelling as they both ran towards him. Valment raised both his arms to smash them, but El Toro caught his right fist with little effort, courtesy of the Ox talisman he was using, while Toru used his own muscle but had much more trouble than El Toro. This let Valment lift Toru up and send him smacking into El Toro as well as Hei Lin and Terani who were nearby, knocking them down. Valment felt several blasts on his back and turned to see Jade and Captain Black shooting blasts of fire and eye beams as they each had the dragon and pig talismans respectively. This only seemed to irritate him as he ran up to try and smash them back, but Viper had managed to climb on top with the snake talisman rendering her invisible. She reached into the rib cage in the back to try and pull Valment out by the shirt. However, he was able to reach behind and grab her before throwing her at Cornelia and Irma, knocking them down as well. "Insects. All of you," Valment exclaimed with evil glee. "Bow before the master of the dark hand, and the soon-to-be master of the world." "I think not, Valment." Jackie called to him with a challenge. "Chan, even now you still defy me. Even after witnessing my power?" Valment exclaimed. "Those who depend solely on power, Valment, find themselves defenseless without it," Jackie said in a wise tone. "Spare me your fortune cookie nonsense. I will squash you once and for all." Valment ran after Jackie, who lured him away from the group. "Come on, we gotta help him." Jade was about to run after him, but Uncle and Caleb stopped her. "Jade, wait, your uncle has a plan," Caleb told her. But Jade tried to protest. "Listen to Rebel Boy, and trust Jackie," Uncle stated. Will flew down and put an assuring hand on Jade's shoulder. "Don't worry, Jackie and I got this." She turned to a certain wrestler. "Hey El Toro, you still got the Ox talisman on you." Jackie had managed to run, jump, and parkour over several boxes and through an alleyway to avoid the relentless onslaught of Valment's strikes with his skeletal armor. He had made it back towards the dock where the fighting all took place and found himself with nowhere left to run in the water behind him as Valment approached him menacingly. "It would seem, Chan, that you have finally ran out of tricks," Valment sneered. Jackie, however, wasn't the least bit intimidated. "You're right, Valment. I may have ran out of tricks. But I still got some." Will suddenly flew straight down and grabbed the skull head of the armor. "What? Get off me at once." Valment tried to reach up, but Will had already began to pry the skull off. Her own strength as a guardian alone was amazing enough, but with the power of the Ox talisman, her physical strength had shot through the roof. With a powerful heave and a yell, Will was able to pull the skull off the armor, causing its glow to vanish as Valment could already feel the power draining. "No!" he exclaimed as the red glowing bones around him, as well as the red aura surrounding his body, completely vanished before Valment himself fell onto the ground, only to be confronted by Jackie with crossed arms and a smirking Will who held the crystal skull in her hand. "You lose," Will smirked. "You said you'd miss our get-togethers, Valment, but I certainly won't," Jackie said. "But I'll be sure to visit you in your prison cell." Valment glared as he reached into his coat pocket. "Not today, Chan." He quickly pulled out a black sphere which he threw into the air before it exploded in a flash of light, forcing Will and Jackie to shield their eyes and giving Valment an opportunity to dive into the water and swim away. The flash vanished, as did the crime lord who unleashed it. "What the? Where'd he go?" Will looked around. Jackie, however, could only sigh as a part of him expected this. Less than 5 minutes later, multiple police units, including Section 13 units, all came in to make multiple arrests. Several boats also patrolled the water to find anyone that may have tried to swim away. Chong, all 3 of his bodyguards, Vanessa, Necrosis, and Hoyle had been led into a police van in cuffs while Origami had been placed in a box of bullet-proof plexiglass that he couldn't cut as he was led into the van via a dolly cart before the door closed and it drove off. Captain Black spoke with some police officers and his own agents before turning and walking toward his own open van where Jackie, Will, Jade, Terani, Cornelia, Viper, Uncle, Irma, Heylin, El Toro, Toru, Caleb, and Paco all sat. The Guardians have since transformed into their human forms. Necrosis, Chong, Barone, and Origami have all been detained along with any henchmen they brought. Captain Black told them, "However, we have combed the entire area. No sign of Valment, his enforcers, or that giant snake and the old wizard." Jackie sighed. "Somehow I'm not too surprised. I can't speak for Valment, but I'm assuming that Cedric and Wong have returned to Meridian by now." Caleb assumed. "So, if the Dark Hand is still at large," Will looked worried. "I mean, Valment already knows where I live, since he stole the heart." "Don't worry," Captain Black assured. "I've already assigned Section 13 to have all your homes under surveillance. If Valment or his cronies even sneezes in your family's direction, we'll be there with a hanky and a pair of handcuffs." That the 5 girls, as well as Jackie, to sigh with relief. "Thanks, Captain Black," Terani told him. Captain Black nodded when he realized someone was missing. "Hey, where is that toad thing?" "Pasling left in sewers," Uncle dismissed. "Blunk probably returned to Meridian as well," Toru guessed. "Or the nearest dumpster." "Okay, Blunk aside, I'm still psyched out at you guys." Irma turned to Viper and El Toro. "I mean seriously, you guys don't have any magic powers and you still kicked serious butt." "Oh man, the J team is so amazing," Heylin exclaimed in joy. "I so can't wait for our next mission together." "Yeah, we could really use the help," Cornelia agreed. Caleb also smiled and nodded. "I have to admit, between you and this Section 13, Earth doesn't seem to be short of impressive warriors." Viper and El Toro both smiled. "Keep the compliments coming," Viper said almost smugly. "But not for much longer, we gotta go." "Huh, you're leaving already?" Will looked in surprise. "See, I have a wrestling match in a few days," El Toro confirmed. "And I have a job to get back to," Viper added. "But don't worry, next time you kids are in a pinch, Jade knows who to call." She gave Jade a wink, causing her to smile. "Well Jade, El Toro may be the best," Paco began. "And Jackie may be better," Jade continued. "But which and the J team are the greatest?" They both stated at the same time, causing them to high-five, with laughs and smiles shared among everyone. Meridian, Phobos throne room. Cedric, in his humanoid form, and Daolan Wong had returned and bowed before the Dark Prince. "Prince Phobos, though it pains me to tell you, but we have failed to retrieve the heart of Kandrakar." Phobos glared. "How disappointing. However, my lord," Wong began, "we did manage to acquire something of a consolation prize." With a wave of his staff and plum of dark blue smoke, Finn, Ratso, and Chow had suddenly appeared and fell flat on the ground. "Oh man," Finn groaned with his friends as he stood up. "Where are we?" Chow looked around in surprise. "Looks like Count Dracula's place," Ratso stated. "Who is this?" Phobos questioned, causing the 3 to look towards him in surprise, having just seen this person for the first time. "They call themselves the Dark Hand," Cedric revealed. "They were the ones who stole the heart of Kandrakar in the first place." And as they are of the earthly realm, their knowledge could prove useful. Wong added. Yo, who's the kid? Chow asked. Oh, I know. He's Dracula's kid. Ratso raised his hand excitedly to give his answer. I am no child, Phobos stated as he stood up and walked down the stairs from his throne. I am Prince Phobos, ruler of the realm of Meridian. And as of now, the three of you serve me. Now, bow before your prince. The three enforcers looked to each other questionably before Finn glared at him. Finn, don't bow before no. Suddenly he and his friends were engulfed in a yellow glow, courtesy of Phobos' own magic, as he forced them on their knees to bow their heads to him. As I said, I am your master now. The Dark Prince reminded firmly. Though it pains me to ally myself with such lower men, your knowledge of Earth should help me in my quest. So you will assist me, or you will suffer. Phobos generated a surge of lightning-like magic in his hand for dramatic effect, which was big enough to scare the enforcers. Got it. Chow straightened up out of fear. We're swinging to your beat. Finn added, putting himself in the same posture. All hail Prince Phobos. Ratso saluted him, even though that was the wrong gesture for this type of occasion. Lightning flashed around Phobos' castle in Meridian. Though he didn't get the heart of Kandrakar, he may have found the tools necessary to help locate his sister and gain her power for himself. This was only the beginning. Happy birthday, Will. Finn, Ratso, and Chow, the three enforcers of the Dark Hand, now under the employ of Prince Phobos, sat in a small room within the castle of Meridian. Ratso looked out the window to see the dark and bleak landscape that served as the domain of the Dark Prince. It's not so bad. Ratso said. Once you get past all the storm clouds. How the hell did we end up here? Finn questioned. First, we take orders from a statue, then we got a ghost possessing Big V and opening up demon portals, now we're in another dimension taking orders from some kid. Yeah, is it just me, or is our luck just that sucky? Chow questioned. Maybe it won't be so bad. Ratso said for the sake of optimism. Least we get to live in a castle from now on. Before either of his friends could reply, the door opened to reveal the humanoid form of Cedric. You three, come with me. Cedric led the enforcers throughout the dark castle and deep underneath it, all the way to a dark cavern that led straight toward a lake at the very bottom of the castle with multiple black tree roots leading from the castle and down into the lake. The three enforcers looked in surprise to see not only Phobos himself bathing in the lake, but Daolan Wang using some form of dark magic from his scepter to analyze the water. We're not interrupting anything, weird right? Finn asked Cedric, who chose to ignore the question. It is as I feared. Wang informed Phobos. The water is not as fluent with magic as it once was. I believe that the life force of Meridian's own land has been dwindling since your sister was born, my prince. Phobos had a slight scoff. The need to find her has never been greater. Ratso practically gushed. He wants to find his little sister. That's sweet. He was however silenced as Finn and Chow elbowed him slightly. You three. Phobos got their attention. You hail from Earth, tell me how I would go about finding someone. We're gonna need more details than that, buddy. Chow told him. Phobos sighed as he knew they had a point. 13 years ago, my sister was taken at birth shortly after our parents were killed. She hadn't even been named. She was taken across the veil and now lives in the Earth City on the other side. More than likely she wasn't told of her heritage in order to protect her, so she would remain anonymous even now. Well, you could put up a missing persons report. Ratso suggested. Or look up birth records. Chow also suggested. Birth records, you say? Daolan Wang asked, intrigued. Yeah. City Hall usually keeps records of all the people who were born in the town. Finn explained. They even separate those who were adopted. Good. Phobos said. You three will escort Daolan Wang and Cedric to this, City Hall. If we know all who were born there, we can narrow our search to those who were not. Earth. Section 13. After getting all the necessary paperwork filled and procedures taken care of, the law enforcement agency known as Section 13 had successfully been transferred to Heatherfield. Their base was underground, just like in San Francisco, complete with a telephone entrance as before. At the moment, the head of Section 13 was currently in a meeting with his lifelong friend. So, let me see if I understand this right. Captain Black summed up. This Phobos character is looking for his younger sister in order to take her power for himself and keep himself on the throne in his world. Yes, that is what Caleb told us. Jackie confirmed as he handed Captain Black a sheet of paper. Here is a physical description of Phobos. Siblings do bear a resemblance to each other, so it may help us to narrow our search down for the heir. Even so, it's not a whole lot to work on. Anything else? Like maybe a name? Black asked. I'm afraid not. Jackie shook his head. According to Caleb, she was brought to Earth as a baby and hadn't even been named yet. I see. Captain Black sighed. Well, we'll start looking, and if we find anything, you'll be the first to know. Thank you, Augustus. I can't tell you just how much help you've been to me. Jackie stood up to shake his friend's hand. It's no problem, Jackie. Really, I'm happy to help. Captain Black smiled as he shook Jackie's hand before the martial artist left. Sheffield Institute. Will had stepped out of her mother's car just as they came to a stop at the school's entrance. Honey, are you sure you don't want to invite just 25 or 30 of your closest friends over? Mrs. Vandam asked, in a playful tone that caused her daughter to wince slightly. No, Mom. Will sighed. Not even just 25 or 30 of them. Okay, birthday girl. But remember, no matter how old you get, you'll always be my pink perky poopy pumpkin. Her mother teased before driving off. Pink perky poopy pumpkin. Will turned around in surprise to see a smirking Jade and Irma at the school's entrance. How'd you earn that nickname? Jade snickered, causing Will to roll her eyes as she tried to ignore them and walk into the school with Jade and Irma following her. So, it's your birthday, huh? Irma asked in an excited tone. Friday. Will stated. Promise you guys won't do anything dumb like throw me a surprise party. I love surprise parties, Irma stated before catching a slight glare from Will. By that, I mean I hate and despise them. She pouted. That goes for you to Jade. Will told the black-haired mischievous girl. Promise me you will not throw me a surprise party. Jade sighed. Fine. She raised her hand. I promise not to throw you a surprise party. Uncross your fingers, Will said with lowered eyelids. Jade showed both her hands, fingers uncrossed and all. Okay, I promise that I will not throw you a surprise party. Jade said with an annoyed sigh, causing Will to smile triumphantly. At least, I won't. Jade hid her own smirk, already having something up her sleeve. Cafeteria. Does this look cooked to you? Terani asked as she sat down at a table with Cornelia and Haylin. Terani, it's a carrot. Cornelia told her. The only way it can harm you is if you're mugged by rabbits. Irma and Jade quickly joined the group at their table. Hey guys, guess whose birthday it is this Friday? Haylin gave an excited gasp. I know. However, she didn't have a real answer to give. I don't know. It's Will's birthday. Duh. Jade stated. Are you guys gonna throw her a party? Haylin asked, still excited. No, she made us promise not to. Irma said as she turned to see Will getting her lunch served. I'll be right back. I gotta warn her about the fish, cause I think this was breaded when they caught it. Irma got up from her chair and ran towards Will to guide her to the more edible food. Yeah, we promised not to throw Will a party. But you guys didn't. Jade smirked towards the three remaining girls. Cornelia's own, evil, smirk mirrored that of Jade's. Once again Jade, your mischief knows no bounds. We're definitely throwing Will a party. Whoa, hang on a minute. Haylin said. You promised Will you wouldn't throw a party, so you're gonna have us throw her one instead. Yeah, isn't that kinda mean? Terani asked. How is it mean? Jade asked. We're her friends, we should show her a good time on her big day, right? My thoughts exactly. Cornelia agreed. When she sees the party that I'm throwing, she'll be too jazzed to remember what she said. Hey Lynn, you're gonna pick the theme and decorations, now we need a place to hold it. How about your uncle's place, Jade? Really? Jade shot her an indifferent look. You wanna hold a party near Uncle? Cornelia winced slightly. Yeah, good point. What about your place? Terani asked Cornelia, causing the blonde to wince even further. A problem. My last part was so unbelievably great, my parents say I can't have another one until after I leave home. Later that day, Jade, Cornelia, and Hey Lin walked through the mall to look for party supplies, while also escorting a certain rebel leader as well so that he could familiarize himself with the terrain of the city. So, Caleb, you are gonna learn all about parties. Cornelia told him. You do know what parties are, right? Jade joked. We have parties in Meridian. Caleb stated. To celebrate the end of Clunder Feast we cook and eat an ox. What are you, a Viking? Jade asked. We won't be hunting or cooking anything. Cornelia spotted two of her friends. Hey girls. She called them over. One was a blonde with gray-blue eyes, the other had reddish-brown hair with blue eyes. First, meet the new girl, this is Jade. Jade, meet Elion and Alchemy. Hi. Jade waved. Hello. Alchemy smiled. Nice to meet you. Elion greeted. Second, party this Friday, 5 o'clock, Irma's house. Cornelia told them. It's Will's birthday. It's a surprise, so don't tell Will. Or Irma. Hey Lynn added. But you said it was at Irma's house. Elion said, confused. Yeah, don't ask. Jade told them as Alchemy turned to see Caleb trying to look at a payphone and bang it on the side. Who's that? Alchemy asked. Caleb, a new guy. Cornelia summed up. The conversation was brought to a screeching halt as Uriah and his gang skateboarded near the group, after evading a mall security guard. Hey, how come Kurt, Clubber, and me didn't get invited to this party of yours? Uriah questioned. 'Cause I'm not inviting creeps. Cornelia told them with crossed arms. Oh, I'm sorry, creeps, Jade and Caleb, creeps. Hi creeps. Jade waved with a teasing smirk as she and everyone else, aside from Caleb, walked away. Pleased to meet you. Caleb greeted casually. Are you related? He was dragged away by Cornelia to avoid an awkward situation as the trio of bullies glared in their direction. I say we teach them a lesson. Uriah told his gang as the group walked away. Remember that horror movie where the kids are terrified by guys in masks? Where are we gonna find scary guys in masks? Clubber asked with his low IQ as Uriah had a seemingly dangerous glint in his eye. Who were those guys? The Heatherfields' resident Three Stooges. Jade joked, resulting in the four other girls laughing. Good one. Alchemy laughed. That's just Uriah and his gang. Elion explained. They think they're tough, but they're just a bunch of jerks. Just ignore them. Jade scoffed. Yeah, whatever they got, I think I can handle. Those are your tough guys. Caleb asked Cornelia, fortunately outside the hearing range of Elion and Alchemy. Please, those dark-hand people we fought were way tougher than that, and I'd like to see them last 5 seconds in a Skuldorian scream cage. Caleb, you're a guest in this dimension, remember? Cornelia reminded. Not everyone here's a soldier, so you can't go all rebel leader and beat the crap out of people out nowhere. Even if they are jerks. Promise me. Caleb didn't respond but gave something of a nod with a pouting face, causing Haylin to snicker. Aw, he's so cute when he sulks. Haylin teased. Later that night, all seemed quiet in the park as there wasn't a single pedestrian, or even animal, in sight. However, this peaceful silence was interrupted by small surges of energy coming from behind a vacant shed. A blue light shined as a portal suddenly appeared. Cornelia's residence. Guess what the theme is? Cornelia excitedly exclaimed to Terani as she showed off the green decorations all over her room. The color you turn when you're gonna throw up. The bespectacled girl guessed. Hello. Haven't you ever looked at Will's backpack? Her pencil case? And that dangly thing on her hat? Cornelia reminded. I guess not attentively enough. She's got frogs on them. Cornelia exclaimed. She likes frogs, so frog party. Are you loving it? It looks like someone barfed on the walls. Lillian, Cornelia's younger sister, commented, much to the blonde's irritation, but she chose to ignore that statement. And, voila, the snack pond. Cornelia showed Terani a little kiddie pool. That's my wading pool, Lillian stated. You can't have that. Quiet, or I'll shave your bear. Cornelia threatened her sister, causing the younger girl to gasp as she protectively held her teddy bear. She turned her attention back to Terani. Okay, you're making floating lily pad cupcakes with flies made out of raisins. And you gotta meet both Will and Irma after school, and make sure they're not dressed like total pigs, but without them figuring out why. How do I do that? Terani asked. Cornelia then began to rethink her strategy. Yeah, on second thought, better let Jade do that. She's way better at that sort of thing. Uncle's shop. Hey Lynn, Miss Lynn, a pleasure to see you. Toru greeted Hey Lynn and her grandmother as they walked into the shop, with Jackie and Uncle walking out of the back room to greet them as well. May I ask for the reason of this visit? Jackie asked. Grandma said she wanted to show you all something. Lin answered as the elderly woman presented a rolled-up sheet of old paper. What is this? Uncle asked. This was once part of a great map, hanging on Prince Phobos' wall. Yan Lin answered, drawing the attention of the group. Years ago, a soldier, tired of serving the evil prince, tore off a crucial piece of Phobos map, the part showing our world, and escaped. He gave the map to a passling, one who moved between worlds, and thus it came to me. Jackie looked at the map and saw that it was blank. I do not see anything written on this map. It appears to be blank, ow. Of course, it is blank. Uncle stated after just delivering a dope slap to his nephew. There is no magic to activate it yet. In our world, the map is blank. Yan Lin explained. Unless, activated by the heart of Kandrakar, currently being held by our friend Will. But for what purpose is this map for? Toru asked. Will this help us to locate the missing heir? Unfortunately, no. Yan Lin continued. As the heart of Kandrakar is capable of locating and closing portals, the map will be able to locate any open portals, including locations where portals have appeared before, despite being closed. Which means we should be able to locate any enemies that Phobos may send to our world. Jackie realized. Why wait till now to give us this, Grandma? Lin asked. Is it because my powers are finally mature enough, that I'm worthy? Yan Lin laughed slightly. Nah, it was in the attic. I couldn't find it, but I found my old tennis racket though. Before anyone else could respond, Jade suddenly appeared in front of them with a camera in her hands. Hey guys. Smile. She took a picture of the group, surprising them. Thanks, gotta go. Wah, Jade. Jackie tried to call her, but she already ran upstairs. What was that all about? Oh, that reminds me. Lin voiced in realization. Will's birthday is this Friday. We're hosting her party at Irma's house, you guys wanna come? Uncle too old for parties. Uncle said immediately. Jackie smiled at Lin. I appreciate the invitation, but I feel a party of friends her age will be better. Okay, but I'll definitely bring you guys some leftover cake. Lin smiled. Jade's room. Jade ran into her room and locked the door. Not that she was against people coming in, but she was making her birthday present for Will and didn't want anyone coming in to spoil it. This wasn't an ordinary birthday present however, as Jade had already printed the surprise picture of Jackie, Lin, Uncle, Toru, and Yan Lin. She also had photos of Irma, Cornelia, Terani, Will herself, even Caleb, and even a selfie of herself as well. Most of them, save for her own selfie, had images of the people looking in surprise, but that was alright. Jade also had a spell book she was borrowing from Uncle's library downstairs and an empty picture frame. Sorry Uncle. Jade spoke to herself. I know the whole magic must defeat magic rule, but I just wanna do something special here. She really did want to do something special for Will. She was the first real friend she ever had, aside from Jackie, Toru, Uncle, and even the Jade team. Let's get to work. Jade flexed her hands with a smirk. Silver Dragon Basement. Jade wasn't the only one working on making a gift for Will. Caleb himself was contemplating what to give her. True, he only just met her, but it was the least he could do for her as she not only saved him from Phobos dungeon, but even Vatic's life during that whole missing key fiasco. But unlike Jade, who was already making something, Caleb was at a loss as to what to give her. We've got to get Will something for her birthday. Caleb said to Blanc. In Meridian, I'd give her the customary chicken skin hat, but since things are different on Earth, that might not be a good idea. He tried to think. Well, I do remember Cornelia buying this stuff that smells in tiny bottles. Blanc have smelly in bottle, gargoyle sweat. Blanc pulled out a black vial of the green substance. Caleb shook his head, doubting Will would like something like that. He turned around and happened to spot some spare wood lying in the corner. This gave him an idea of what to make her. Friday. Classes ended, and just as Will and Irma walked outside, they were greeted by Jade. Hey guys. Guess what? That Boyzilla band is playing at the mall in a few hours. That got both girls excited. You're kidding. Let's go. Yeah, but first, Jade brought out some bags. You should dress up. You know, look nice for the guys. You don't seem like the girl who'd be into that, Jade. Irma pointed out. Oh, I couldn't care less about boy bands, but you guys do, right? Jade smirked, causing Will and Irma to look at each other suspiciously. Irma's house. Lin knocked on the front door, which Irma's father answered a few seconds later. "Hi Mr. Lair." Lin greeted. "Irma's not home, right? Great. Come on in guys." Mr. Lair looked in confusion as Lin, Cornelia, Terani, and several other kids brought in some party supplies. An hour later, the sun went down as Jade led both the well-dressed Will and Irma to the house, much to Irma's confusion. Why are we stopping at my house again?" "Because," Jade opened the door dramatically to reveal the party inside. "Surprise. Will couldn't believe it. You guys promised." Cornelia threw her arms around both girls. "Can you believe Irma didn't wanna throw you a party just because you told her not to? Give me 13 hugs, birthday girl." Meanwhile, back at the park where the portal recently opened, nothing had passed through it since its appearance. That is, until now. Electricity surged through it as Daolon Wang, Cedric, and the enforcers all stepped out from Meridian and into Earth. Wang smiled evilly. "Darkness shall soon begin its reign. So, welcome to Earth," Ratso said to the shapeshifter, in his human form, and the Dark Kai wizard. "Well, technically it'd be welcome back to Earth, since you guys had already been here, right?" Chow laughed nervously. "Enough," Cedric told the enforcers. "Take us to this city hall, now." Okay, don't get your tail in a bunch," Finn said as he and his friends led their dark escorts through the park. Uncle's shop. Toru had finished sweeping the shop when he suddenly heard a crash coming from the kitchen. Aiya. The large man quickly ran into the kitchen to find Uncle standing in shock, having just dropped his teacup. "Sensei. What is it?" Toru asked urgently. "Uncle has the willies," the elderly Kai wizard voiced in dread. Irma's house. Kids danced, music played, food was eaten. It appeared that this party was a grand time had by all. All except for the girl whom this party was made for. "I can't believe you guys did this." Will grumbled to Irma and Jade with crossed arms. "I had nothing to do with it," Irma immediately said. "It's true, she was totally clueless," Jade pointed out. "But you also promised, Jade." Will glared at her. "Yeah, I promised, but Cornelia didn't," Jade told her. "She planned this whole thing. I was kinda thinking though it'd be just the 6 of us with pizza or something." "You clearly don't know Cornelia very well," Irma said to Jade. Will sighed. "I'm gonna get something to drink." She walked away from the pair just as a boy with glasses and brownish blonde hair walked up. "Hey, thanks for inviting me, Sweetie Lips," he said to Irma, causing Jade to laugh. "Sweetie Lips." Jade laughed, resulting in Irma angrily gasping and glaring at the boy. "I didn't invite you, Martin. I didn't invite anyone." She looked him right in the eye. "And don't you ever call me Sweetie Lips." "I didn't wanna say anything in front of the other guests," the boy named Martin began. "But there were flies on your cupcakes." He showed one fly on his finger. "Don't worry though, I pulled them off." He stuck one in his mouth and realized it wasn't a fly at all. "Never mind, they're just raisins. I'll put them back, they're in my pocket." Martin left as Irma sighed while pulling her hand down her face. Jade smirked in Irma's direction. "So, who's the boyfriend?" "He's not my boyfriend," Irma said immediately. "He's a total geek and stalker who's been on my feet ever since we meet." "Whatever you say." Jade shrugged teasingly, much to Irma's irritation. Meanwhile, the enforcers had led Wang and Cedric towards a large building in the middle of the park, which appeared to be closed for the night due to the lack of lights. "Well, this is it, City Hall," Finn presented. "So, any you guys got a magic key or what?" Chow asked. Cedric said nothing as he simply transformed into his large serpent form and easily broke the door down with his strength before entering. "Okay, that works too," Finn pointed out. "That guy's really scary," Ratso said bluntly as they and Wang entered the building behind him. However, as they walked inside, a boy was walking his dog past the building when the dog caught an odd whiff and barked at the building. The boy looked up towards a window to see the silhouette of Cedric in the window, along with 4 other people, causing the boy to look in fright. Irma's house. Caleb was about to walk inside and join the party but was stopped when a certain passling grabbed onto his leg. "Blunk, help with gift." "Blunk, go inside." "No, can't. They got enough frogs in there as it is," Caleb responded, having seen a few frog decorations from the window before shaking Blunk off his leg and walking inside and closing the door behind him. However, as he did, 2 familiar girls approached him. Hi, remember me from the mall? Alchemy. Remember me too. I'm Elion. Yeah, I remember. Caleb turned around to give a friendly smile. Caleb, nice to meet you again. Back off, girls. Cornelia approached Caleb as she gave them a small stink eye before turning to him. Stick with me, or they'll tear you to pieces. Irma washed some of the dishes in the kitchen as she saw her father walk down the stairs, much to her alarm. Dad, no. She began to push her dad back up the stairs. I just want to get the remote. I don't throw parties while you and mom are out of town, and you do not embarrass me when you are in town. Irma told him. Back in the party, while everyone else appeared to be dancing, Caleb spotted Will alone on the couch with a drink and decided it was the best time to give her the gift he made for her. Hey. Caleb gave a friendly wave. Hey. Will grumbled. Not into parties, huh? Caleb guessed. No. Well, you still get birthday gifts on Earth, right? Caleb handed his gift to Will, which she looked at in surprise. It was a piece of wood that had an image of Will, in her guardian form, sitting on a cloud with stars around her, carved into it. There was even some coloring on her wings, it looked almost like stained glass. Wait, did you make this? Will asked in surprise. Yep, Caleb confirmed. I carved it out of some wood I found in Miss Lynn's basement, and the wings are even dragon scales. Will had to admit that she was impressed, not just with the gift but the effort Caleb put into it. Thanks, you're really talented. Sure, no problem. Caleb smiled, glad Will liked his gift as he went back into the party. As everyone continued to dance throughout the living room, Haylin and Jade both sat on a couch, eating some cake when they both saw Blanc outside the window, hopping up and down to be let in. Aw, poor Blanc. Haylin looked in sympathy. Wouldn't hurt to give him a little cake. Jade said as she opened the window as she and Haylin handed the pasling their cakes before closing the window so that nobody saw. Meanwhile, on the other side of the fence of another house outside, Uriah kept watch as his gang sat behind the fence with some cheap horror movie masks. When do we do it? Clubber asked. We do it, when I say we do it. Uriah grumbled as he sat back down. Sure thing, Uriah. Clubber said. When are you gonna say we do it? He asked, resulting in Uriah scowling. Back inside, Will looked around at the party and couldn't help but sigh. Not out of anger, but rather sadness. So, she simply walked out the door, with only Jade noticing that she left. Will sat down on the porch and looked at the gift Caleb gave her. Though she was grateful for it, she wasn't too happy about the party and simply sat with a somber look on her face. Jade came outside and sat down next to her. Hey, nice picture. She saw Caleb's carving. Caleb made it. Will said. Apparently the wings are dragon scales. Okay, you gotta admit that's pretty cool. Jade said with a small smile. Guess Rebel Boy's good for something after all. She joked. Though Will did smile a bit, it was quick to fade. Okay, what's going on? I get some people don't exactly like parties, but it's your birthday for crying out loud. Who doesn't love a birthday party? Will sighed. Look, I get what you and the others are trying to do, but it's not that I hate parties, I used to love them. Used to? Jade asked. Before I moved to Heatherfield, I used to have a group of friends back at my old school. Will began. At least I thought they were my friends. We even shared secrets together, I even told them about this boy I had a crush on. You know what they did? They hosted a little, surprise party, for me, where they told pretty much everyone from school about my crush. I trusted them, and they stabbed me in the back and humiliated me in front of everyone. I thought they were my friends, yet they made me a laughingstock in front of everyone. Even that boy I liked laughed at me. Will placed her hands on her face as Jade couldn't help but look in sympathy. Will, I'm so sorry. Jade said sincerely. But I would never do anything like that. Nor would Irma, Terani, Haylin, not even Cornelia would be that shallow. I know you wouldn't, Will said honestly. But, I just can't forget all that. As much as I want to. I'm not sure you'd understand. Actually, I do. Jade began as Will looked at her in surprise. I didn't have any friends at all at my old school. I always talked about Uncle Jackie and our adventures, but no one believed me. Well, you kinda have to admit that all that magic stuff you talk about is pretty far-fetched. Will told her. Yeah, now that you mention it, you're right. Jade continued. But they still all made fun of me for it and laughed at me. I was pretty much the freak of the school. That is until I met this boy named Seymour. He was nice. I thought he was my friend too, until I found out he was really a demon. Ah, a demon as in he was just a jerk? Will asked. No, I mean a literal demon with wings, claws, and red eyes. Jade explained. Shendu's brother, Shiwu the sky demon. We had his tail in Uncle's shop, so he used me to try and get it back. I know it's not the same, but I know how it feels to have a friend stab you in the back. And it hurts. This time, it was Will's turn to look in sympathy towards Jade. Though their situations were quite different, they were still very much alike in the betrayal of one's trust area, as well as having no friends. I'm really sorry, Jade. Thanks, Jade said. But I'm so over Wing Boy. Because I got real friends. I got Jackie, Toru, even Uncle and his garlic breath. She joked as Will laughed slightly. Plus, now I got the rest of Witch, and that includes you too. And I know you got all of us too, and unlike those other jerks who weren't really your friends, we got your back for real. Jade stood up as she offered Will a hand. Come on, the party's still young, and we got plenty of cake. Will smiled as she accepted Jade's hand. Chocolate cake, right? Yep. Jade led her friend back into the house. Meanwhile, back inside the house, as Irma and Hei Lin cleaned off some plates, they overheard a radio message on Irma's dad's police radio. Hey Tom, it's probably just a prank, but we got a call about some kinda lizard monster at City Hall. Can you pop over and check it out? Lizard. Irma gasped in realization. If it's that Cedric guy, my dad could get hurt. Get the girls, she told Hei Lin as they both ran out of the kitchen. As the party continued, both Irma's parents sat in their bedroom as Mrs. Lair sighed. I remember when we got to go to all of her little parties. Irma suddenly opened the door. Mom, Dad, some of us are going for pizza. Could you keep the party going till we get back? This caused both parents to look excited. Are you kidding? I'm a part-time animal. Hey, remember when gave donkey rides for your 4th birthday? He gave playful donkey noises which only embarrassed Irma. Dad, please don't talk me out of this. Irma said before leaving. Come on honey. Mr. Lair said to his wife. Let's show these kids how it's done. He kissed her on the cheek before they got up. By the time Irma got back downstairs, Will, Jade, Hei Lin, Terani, and Cornelia had all gathered and were about to head out the door when Cornelia spotted Caleb talking with some girls, particularly Elion and Alchemy, and they all had dreamy looks in their eyes. The world had better be in serious danger for me to leave Caleb alone with those girls. Cornelia grumbled before joining her teammates just as Mr. and Mrs. Lair came down. Caleb spotted the 6 girls leaving the house. Where are they going? Pizza. Elion answered. Where's that? Caleb asked, resulting in the girls laughing thinking it was just a joke. Something told him it was a guardian emergency, however. You ladies will have to excuse me. He opened the window and jumped right out of it before running after the girls. Elion gave a dreamy sigh as she saw this. Wrap him up, I'll take him. However, Caleb wasn't the only one who noticed the girls leaving. Uriah and his gang also saw them. Aw man, 6 of them together, even that new girl, too perfect. Let's go. He and his gang began to follow them. As Caleb walked around the house, he spotted Blanc who just finished his cake that Jade and Hei Lin gave him. Blanc. He got the passling's attention just as he noticed Uriah's gang following the girls. What's the creep family up to? Come on. You can make yourself useful. He told Blanc as they followed the group of bullies. The Silver Dragon. Thank you for the tea, Miss Lin. Jackie thanked as Yan Lin sat down with her own cup of tea, having just finished pouring one for Jackie. No problem. Anything for Hei Lin's, Uncle Jackie. Yan Lin joked. But in all seriousness, it's the least I can do for you helping not only my granddaughter, but this new generation of guardians. With someone like you as their teacher, I see a bright future ahead of them. I'll help however I can. Jackie said as he drank his tea. But I should be grateful as well. Before we moved here, Jade didn't have many friends at school, so I'm glad she is starting to find some in Hei Lin and the others. Though her habit constantly getting into trouble doesn't appear to have changed. Yan Lin chuckled slightly. You know, that's actually a lot like what your Uncle Jin used to do with the girls and I back in the day. He was about as cocky as they came, much like Jade, but of course he was plenty good at kicking butt too, so he had no problem getting out of trouble. Jackie smiled before it faded slightly. While I am happy to know Uncle had such a fun time in his youth, I'm surprised that he never told me about this before, even during our battles against the Dark Hand and Shendu when magic came into play. I can't really say I'm surprised. Yan Lin said as she took out a photograph and showed it to Jackie. This right here is a picture of the previous Guardians. Jackie looked at the photo as it depicted 5 young women and a young Chinese man with brown hair, bearing a strong resemblance to Jackie himself. He could only assume it was his uncle. There was also a Chinese woman in his arms, kissing him on the cheek, which was undoubtedly Yan Lin in her youth, but there were 4 other women he didn't recognize. There was a Caucasian with red hair and blue eyes, a blonde with blue eyes, an African American woman with black hair and eyes, and finally a woman with long black hair and green eyes. As you can see, that is Jin when he was young and smoking. That little hottie in his arms is me. Yan Lin began to list the people in the picture. The others are Cassidy, Halinor, Kadma, and Nerissa. Though Jackie noticed some hesitance in speaking that last name, he chose to ignore it as Yan Lin continued. We were all very good friends, even Jin got along well with the other girls, though he and Kadma butted heads quite frequently. They were like oil and vinegar, those two. She laughed slightly. If you don't mind me asking, what happened to the other former Guardians? Jackie asked. Halinor joined the Council of Kandrakar. Yan Lin began. Kandrakar, as in the heart of Kandrakar. Jackie voiced in surprise. Yes, Kandrakar is also the name of the realm that resides at the center of the universe. Yan Lin explained. The council oversees the veil and the balance that is to be maintained between all these worlds, while the Guardians are their police force, in a sense. Halinor is among the council now. Are the others in the council as well? Jackie asked. No. Yan Lin continued. Kadma went to live in the realm of Zambala, even becoming its queen to watch over the realm. We hadn't spoken since. What of Cassidy or Nerissa? This caused the former Air Guardian to look down. They are no longer with us. Jackie's look became quite sympathetic once he heard that. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Truly, I am. Yan Lin smiled as she placed a hand on Jackie's, showing she was grateful for that. After what happened then, no one was ever the same. Even Jin changed. Before he was confident and cocky, feeling he can take on the whole world, but after that he became much more serious. The rest of us tried to stay together, but we eventually broke apart. I retired, Halinor and Kadma went off in their own directions that I told you about, and Jin went to train under the Kai wizard, Fong. We kept in touch but didn't speak much after. I guess we each had our own ways of dealing with our loss. Jackie was once more about to express his sympathy, but Yan Lin continued to speak. And that is another reason why I asked for you to help train this new generation of Guardians. Yan Lin explained. They will face many powerful foes, not just Phobos, and you have much experience battling such adversaries. But more importantly, I am hoping that you will help in providing emotional support as well. This will be very stressful for them, and I feel that there is a possibility they may lose themselves to their magic if it overwhelms them. Power is nothing if not intoxicating. I've seen myself what that can do to people. They will need help of someone who is humble and well-grounded, to keep them not only close to each other, but with their roots, so they don't forget who they are. It was in that moment that Jackie understood why he was here with this new generation of Guardians. He wasn't just their teacher, he was their friend and protector. No doubt they will be facing dangerous adversaries, and there will likely be moments that will weigh heavy on them, but he will be there to share the load and make sure they don't lose themselves, whether to the call of power or in their stress and grief. Miss Lin, I swear I will do everything I can to help protect these girls. Jackie assured. I will make sure they are not only strong, but safe. I will watch over them with all that I am. Yan Lin smiled sincerely. I know you will. You are a good and noble man, Jackie Chan. Jackie smiled back, but his smile vanished as he heard his cell phone ring. He was quick to answer it. Hello, Jade. What's going? Oh, what? All right, I'm on my way. He hung up and turned back to Yan Lin. Cedric is here in Heatherfield. Jade, Will, and the others are going to face them. Go, help them however you can. Yan Lin told him. I will. Jackie nodded with a determined look on his face before running out the door. As Yan Lin was left alone, she glanced one more at the picture of herself and her former team as a stray tear fell down her face. Jackie had met up with Will, Jade, Irma, Cornelia, Terani, and Hei Lin at the park as they all sat down on a bench while Hei Lin showed them the map that her grandmother had provided earlier. "What good is a map if it doesn't show anything?" Will asked. "Grandma said it was activated by the crystal," Hei Lin replied. Will took out the heart of Kandrakar and shined it over the paper. Once she did, a perfect map of the city magically appeared on the paper with 4 X's glowing at 4 different areas, 3 were red and 1 was blue. "Hey, that's the alleyway behind the mall." Irma pointed to 1 X. "And that gross sewer one." Cornelia pointed to the second X. "And that's near the docks where we and the J team fought the Dark Hand." Jade pointed to the last red X. "The first 3 portals." Terani voiced in realization. "Oh, there's a 4th one." Will looked at the blue X on the map. "Likely the one that Cedric used to cross over into our world." Jackie assumed. "And it appears to be very close." The group turned around to see the building that was City Hall. With nothing needing to be said, Jackie led the 6 girls towards the building. They came towards the doors that were broken down, which made Terani more than a bit nervous. Maybe we should call the police. Or better yet, Section 13. The bespectacled girl suggested. "For this kind of problem, we are the police," Will stated. "As Uncle always says, magic must defeat magic," Jade said as well. "I was afraid you'd say that." Terani gulped, but Jackie put a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Do not worry, if you're nervous, just stay close to me," Jackie assured. "Thanks, Jackie," Terani said with a small smile, feeling somewhat better as the group walked into the building. Meanwhile, Uriah and his gang snuck in through the building's back door, but Caleb and Blanc spotted them. "Come on," Caleb told to Blanc. "I promised Cornelia that I wouldn't do anything to the Creep brothers." "But you didn't." Blanc hung his head down, not liking where Caleb was going with this. "Guardians unite," Will said the magic words into the heart of Kandrakar as she, Irma, Terani, Cornelia, and Hei Lin underwent a dramatic and flashy transformation, assuming their persona as witch. "Never gets old," Jade said with an excited smile as even Jackie had a proud smile on his face. "Alright, who wants lizard on their pizza?" Irma challenged. Meanwhile, on the second floor, Cedric and Wong both continued to search through the room that contained the birth records of all the people in Heatherfield. Finn, Ratso, and Chow were also there, but without knowing who exactly they were looking for, the enforcers really couldn't provide any help, so they just hung back. "So, any luck?" Ratso asked, only for him and his friend to duck as Cedric threw a box of papers at them. A simple, "no," would have sufficed. Chow scowled. "These records are ancient, hundreds of years old." Wong grunted in frustration as he used his scepter to blast a stack of papers to vent. "We need more recent records." Finn spotted some boxes behind the open door. "Hey maybe this is it." He wondered as he took out some papers, only to be shoved aside by Cedric as the humanoid shapeshifter glanced over them himself. Back in the lobby, Cornelia used her earth powers on a potted plant to extend its roots towards a nearby elevator and pry open the door while Will used her super strength to kick a stone bench in between the doors to keep it open as the Guardians flew in with Jackie and Jade following. "Why don't we just take the elevator?" Terani asked. Jade gave her titular scoff. "And let Lord Snakeboy know we're here. This thing's about as loud as an alarm clock." "Jade is right," Jackie agreed. "We know Cedric is here, but we don't know if he's here alone. We need to be careful." He jumped to grab onto the handles of the emergency hatch on the elevator's ceiling to open it. The 5 Guardians all flew up as Will carried Jackie and Irma carried Jade. Once they made it to the 2nd floor, Jackie took the lead as he spotted an open door. He hung back towards the wall and motioned his hand behind him, quietly telling the girls to stay back and keep quiet as he scouted the room. He peeked out the door to find there was no one inside. "He's not here," he said to the girls, confident the enemy couldn't hear him as they all joined him inside. "Geez, looks worse than my room." Jade looked at the mess the enemy left behind. What was he doing here anyway? Terani looked down at a sheet of paper. "These are birth records." Back in the lobby, Caleb and Blanc hid behind a pillar as they saw the trio of bullies, each of them wearing scream masks, looking around for the girls to scare. Maybe Blanc too pretty to scare boys. I'll risk it. Caleb brushed off before pushing Blanc out into the open. The masked bullies turned around to see Blanc, who tried to act terrifying as he burped and tried to roar, only to cough. Needless to say, Uriah and his gang were far from intimidated. Dude, is that like a big green monkey? Clubber wondered aloud, but the three saw something behind Blanc that caused them to run away screaming in absolute terror. And don't come back, Blanc told the bullies, only to look behind him to see the towering form of Cedric, causing Blanc to scream in terror as well. Why would a slimly lizard be looking through a bunch of old birth records? Cornelia asked as the group skinned through the records that were tossed everywhere. The only thing missing is female birth records from about 13 years ago. Terani said, but the group was suddenly startled by an inhuman roar that echoed throughout the whole building. Looks like our guest is still in the building, Jade said as they all ran out. Blanc backed away from Cedric only to back right into the feet of Daolan Wang, along with the three enforcers. A passling here, Wang questioned. The hell is that supposed to be? Finn asked. Some kind of magic toad. What are you doing on this side of the veil, smuggler? Cedric demanded the smaller creature. Retailer. Blanc exclaimed. They all heard a yell as Caleb tried to jump and attack them, but Wang used his scepter to ensnare Caleb with his dark magic and immobilize him, as well as Blanc. Who's the kid? Chow asked. Caleb's eyes widened at the sight of the enforcers. I remember you. You're those dark hand people. Wait, wasn't this kid at the docks? Ratso asked. This boy is the leader of the rebellion in Meridian, Wang stated. Caleb. Everyone turned back towards the open elevator to see the Guardians, Jackie, and Jade enter the lobby, but the heroes looked in surprise to see Finn, Ratso, and Chow with Wang and Cedric as well. The Dark Hand, Jackie, Will, Terani, and Hei Lin, exclaimed in surprise. Chan. The enforcers all shouted in an equal amount of surprise. Guardians. Wang and Cedric both snarled at the girls. The Three Stooges are working for Phobos now, Jade asked in confusion. Valment must be on spring break or something, Irma assumed with a shrug. Gone. Ren. Kui. Daolan Wang had summoned his trio of Dark Kai warriors by his side just as Jackie, Jade, and Will took combative stances while the other Guardians summoned their respective elemental powers. Time the Guardians and that meddlesome Jackie Chan learn a lesson in humility. Cedric exclaimed. Attack. What he said, Finn stated as the battle begun. Jackie immediately leapt at Cedric while Will and Jade found themselves surrounded by Finn, Ratso, and Chow. Irma, Terani, Cornelia, and Hei Lin flew at the Dark Kai warriors, shooting blasts of water, fire, rock, and air respectively at them, forcing them to scatter, and Wang to throw up a dark magic shield to protect himself, consequently losing his magical grip on Caleb and Blanc. The passling hid behind a curtain as he watched Caleb running to jump behind Cedric and wrap his arms around the snake man's neck while Jackie leapt to deliver a kick to Cedric's face and knock him back. Cedric got back up and glared at Jackie and Caleb as they stood together before the snake man roared and lunged at them. Finn ran and threw a punch at Will, but she parried the punch, using Finn's own weight against him, and tripping him up on his feet to knock him onto the ground. Chow tried to come in with some punches and kicks himself, but Will blocked all of them before flying and flipping over Chow to grab him from behind by his shirt and throw him to the wall. Ratso ran towards her, but Jade had already swept her feet to trip Ratso, causing him to fall flat on his face. Wow, these guys aren't as tough as I'd thought they'd be, Will pointed out, given how easy it was to bring them down. Well duh, without the talismans, these guys are a total cakewalk, Jade remarked. However, the other Guardians didn't seem to be having such an easy time against Daolan Wang and his Dark Kai warriors. Hei Lin used her air power to blow a large rug towards them. Though Wang was able to escape in a puff of smoke, all three warriors were trapped and ensnared in the rug. Before Hei Lin could even celebrate, however, Wang appeared behind her and shot her with a blast of Dark Kai magic. In direct response, Hei Lin threw her hands out to blast a hail of water at Wang while Cornelia used her powers to crack the ground and send a hail of debris at Wang as well, but he used his own magic to create a large shield in front of him to block the attacks. Terani was about to come in with a fireball, but she had to duck at the last minute to avoid a large hammer thrown her way, which smashed into the wall. She looked in surprise to see the Dark Kai warriors free of their predicament as Ren used his large shuriken to cut his way out of the rug while Kui's hammer returned to him. Gon leapt towards Terani and lashed his staff at her, but Terani fell back down to the ground to avoid it. Heilin however was quick to come to Terani's aid as she blew a powerful gust of wind from her mouth to knock back all three warriors. Cedric roared as he sent a punch towards Jackie, but he rolled out of the way to avoid it as the fist slammed onto the ground. Caleb came in with a kick as he swung on a drape, which only stunned Cedric, but left him open for Jackie to leap and jump off Cedric before delivering an airborne punch to his face and knock him onto the ground. The second Jackie landed however, he waved his hand as it stunned quite a bit from that punch. However, Cedric was quick to get back up and was ready to attack both Jackie and Caleb again when he heard a whistle. "Hey Snake Boy," Jade called to Cedric from the middle of the room. Yo mama was so ugly she couldn't get a date with an anaconda. The shapeshifter roared as he slithered his way towards the girl. "Jade, what are you doing?" Jackie shouted. "About to make a snake pancake," Jade stated as Cedric was right over her. "Now." Will was already hovering at the chandelier that Jade had lured Cedric right under as she gave a horizontal karate chop, which was strong enough to cut through the chain and send the chandelier falling on top of Cedric just as Jade ran out of the way. "Nice," Will exclaimed as she flew back down to Jade and they shared a high five. "Wow, those two make a pretty good team," Caleb commented as Jackie went from being surprised to proud as he gave a nod, but the celebration came to an end as Cedric recovered quickly and knocked the fallen chandelier off him. He grabbed the surprised Will by her leg and smacked her into Jade before throwing her at Jackie and Caleb to knock them back. Irma used her powers on a pipe that was exposed from the ground from Cornelia's previous attack to shoot a water blast at Gon, but he leapt over the attack, slammed his staff into Irma to knock her back just as Cornelia herself was blasted back by a shockwave of Kui's hammer that slammed onto the ground by her feet. Heilin tried to send a wind disc attack at Ren, but his shuriken blocked and intercepted the attack, before it returned to him. However, this seemed to be a distraction as Terani tried to shoot at him from behind, only for her to be ensnared by a dark magic energy grip from Wong and his scepter, who sent her flying into Heilin where they skidded across the floor near a downed Irma and Cornelia just as Jackie, Will, Jade, and Caleb landed in the same area from Cedric's attack. Blanc gave a scream as he hid behind the drapes while the villains loomed over the heroes. "Novice Guardians," Wong sneered evilly. "Your crude elemental powers cannot defeat me." "Enough bluster, Wong. Finish them," Cedric ordered. "You do not order me, shapeshifter." Wong shot at him before commanding his Dark Kai warriors once more. "Destroy them." All the heroes looked in shock as the three Dark Kai warriors leapt into the air, ready to bring their weapons down on them, only for the warriors to be hit by a green magic blast seemingly out of nowhere, much to everyone's confusion. "Yumo Gui Gui Fi Di Zhao. Yumo Gui Gui Fi Di Zhao." Uncle cited his titular chant as his good Kai magic kept the Dark Kai warriors suspended in midair while Toru stood by his teacher's side. "Toru, now." Toru pressed a button on the top of a triangular prism-shaped artifact, causing it to open at the top. It hovered in the air above Toru's hands before the Dark Kai warriors were transformed into streams of dark blue smoke and pulled into the artifact like a vacuum before it closed, trapping them inside forever. Jackie and Heilin smiled, while Will, Caleb, Cornelia, Terani, Irma, and even Blanc from his hiding spot, all looked with drop-jaw surprise. "Go Uncle!" Jade exclaimed with a wide grin. "My warriors, imprisoned," Wong exclaimed while Cedric himself looked more than a little surprised. "How did you locate the lost urn of Wei Chang?" he questioned towards Uncle. "I know a thing or two about antiques," Uncle boasted with a proud grin. "We also know a thing or two about backup," Toru added. Before anyone could question what he meant, multiple Section 13 transports all came to a halt outside the building as several agents, all dressed SWAT uniforms, came pouring in through the open front door, and several more crashed down from the ceiling, sliding down on ropes. Before the Wong or Cedric could even react, they were completely surrounded by at least 24 Section 13 agents, all of whom had their guns trained on them as the evil duo had laser targets pointed all over their bodies. "One wrong move, and you're both Swiss cheese," Captain Black stated as he walked into the room, standing alongside Uncle and Toru. "Captain Black," Jackie exclaimed in surprise. "Man, talk about a cavalry." Irma said with a grin as she and the other guardians, Jade, even Caleb, had relieved smiles on their faces. Daolong Wang and Cedric glared and growled at how quickly the tide was turned against them. However, the humanoid snake monster still held some papers close to his person. "We have what we came for. We shall meet again, Guardians, Forces of Earth," Cedric hissed as Wang threw out a large plum of dark smoke with his scepter. "Hey, wait for us," Finn shouted as he, Ratso, and Chao all ran and jumped into the smoke as well. All the agents moved in to try and stop them, only to find all of their enemies had completely vanished once the smoke subsided. The Guardians, Chan clan, in Section 13 managed to locate the portal that the enemy no doubt already escaped into. "And take this slimy portal with you," Will stated as she used the heart of Kandrakar to close the portal as well as transform herself and her friends back to normal. Meridian, Phobos Castle. Cedric, Wang, and the enforcers walked onto the balcony as a hawk landed on Phobos' robbed arm. "Well," the Dark Prince looked expectantly back at his subordinates. "We have the Earth papers that will help us to locate your sister," Cedric told his prince. "However, locating her will be much more difficult," Daolong Wang informed. "The Guardians have received aid from the forces of Earth, who will no doubt try to use their own resources to locate the child before we do." Phobos sighed slightly. "I should have suspected as much. Though it is fortunate we have our own Earth forces as well." He glanced towards the enforcers. "I wouldn't be so confident, my prince," Cedric said. These three were all but useless against Chan and the Guardians. Phobos' look turned into a glare, which startled the trio. "Give us a break, Phobos," Finn stated. "We don't even have any magic powers." "Yeah, we're just three normal guys," Ratso added. "How do you expect us to fight super-powered magic girls?" Chao stated. "They may have a point, my prince." Wang seemed to be in agreement. "As they are now, they cannot hold their own against the Guardians, novices or no. So, we're free to go," Ratso hopped. Daolong Wang however snickered evilly as his eyes began to glow a bright blue and he cited the incantation for a powerful dark magic spell. Ganrenchui. Gan Ren Kui. Gan. Ren. Chu. He shot a trio of dark magic bolts from his scepters that hit the three enforcers dead on. They all screamed as they were lifted into the air and underwent a dreaded transformation as they were completely enveloped in dark blue smoke. Their skin had turned dark orange as the same symbol that was on Wang's forehead formed on each of their foreheads. Their hair turned dark red and became much longer, save for Ratso who became bald. Their ears became pointy, almost elf-like, as their eyes became onyx black. Their clothes were all torn off and burnt black before they completely enveloped and rearranged themselves around the trio before bright blue tattoos formed all over their arms and were engulfed in a final flash. The transformation was complete as the enforcers of the Dark Hand had fallen onto the ground but landed rather gracefully as they each looked at their newfound appearances. Finn had taken an appearance that resembled Ren, Ratso looked like Kui, and Chao looked like Gon as he put his sunglasses back on. "You're orange." Ratso pointed to Chao. "You're bald." Chao pointed back to Ratso in shock. "Freaky," Finn looked at all his transformed state. "You are no longer mortal men, but powerful Dark Kai warriors under my command," Wang told them. "So, the next time you face the Guardians, you will be ready for them." Though this did mean they were still going to be serving Phobos, the enforcers could indeed feel much stronger as they each summoned their respective weapons wielded by the former Dark Kai warriors. Finn had the large windmill shuriken, Chao had the three-section staff, and Ratso wielded the massive hammer. "Huh, I guess we could get used to this," Chao shrugged. "Better than getting our butts kicked all the time." Finn seemed to accept his newfound power, albeit a bit reluctantly. "Maybe this time, we'll be kicking butt," Ratso voiced. Phobos looked in amusement at this as he glanced back out onto his balcony. Though the hunt for his sister would be more difficult than he expected, he had no intention of giving up. "Time to start planning a family reunion," he told himself with a sinister chuckle. Earth. City Hall. Though the Guardians and Chan clan were sure that Cedric and Wang already left, Captain Black had his agents search through City Hall just to be certain. One agent heard a bang on a nearby storage closet. He pulled out his pistol and pulled open the door but was surprised to find Uriah and his gang terrified and crying like babies. "Ah!" Clubber screamed. "Don't eat us!" Uriah also screamed. "Is the giant snake gone?" Kurt screamed as well. Meanwhile, Jackie, Caleb, and Toru all helped Will, Irma, Jade, Cornelia, Haylin, and Terani carry some pizza back to Irma's house for the party. Uncle walked with them, but he didn't carry any pizza. Birth certificates of girls at the age of 13. Toru asked, after being told what Cedric and Wong were doing at City Hall. That's all that was missing, yes. Jackie confirmed. Is Phobos looking for us? Will wondered. Unlikely. Uncle shook his head. He is undoubtedly looking for the true heir to Meridian. Well, I don't see what good birth records are gonna do since the heir wasn't born here. Cornelia said. Phobos could use the list to narrow down the search, identify those that were born in Heatherfield to those who were not. Jackie assumed. Which would mean that Phobos has already got a head start on us. Terani said. Big deal. Jade blew it off. They also got that stuff online, right? Just have Captain Black search the web. But without knowing what the heir looks like, we'd have no idea who to look for. Toru said. Caleb, you got any ideas? Will asked. No clue. The rebel leader said honestly. She wasn't even named when she was rescued from her brother. We'll worry about that later. Haylin said, trying to cheer everyone up. We got a party to get back to. Irma however didn't seem as enthusiastic. My parents have been ruining my party for an hour. I hope you guys like party, because there won't be anybody in my house left to eat it. Haylin was the first to make it back as she saw something that made her look in elated surprise. Well, you're right, they're not in your house. A huge smile formed on Irma's face to see the party going on, maybe even better than before, as her mother led all the kids outside on a Hasha Cha-Cha dance. Cha-Cha-Cha-Cha. Woo. Come on, Limbo is next. Cha-Cha-Cha. Irma soon got an idea. Hey, we brought pizza. And a real-life sumo wrestler. She announced, gesturing to Toru, who was quite surprised. I really don't think. He was suddenly surrounded by many of the party guests. Whoa, he's a sumo. Look at this guy. He's huge. Hey, who wants the arm wrestle with the sumo? Before Toru could protest, he was dragged into the party. Come on Uncle Jackie, it's time to party. Haylin grabbed Jackie's hand excitedly, as well as Uncle's. You to Uncle. The night is still young. Okay, slow down, Jackie laughed slightly as he was pulled into the party. Aiya. Uncle is too old to do the cha-cha. Uncle comically exclaimed. Terani, Cornelia, and even Caleb all joined in the party as well as Jade walked up to Will. Come on, you gotta admit Will, this looks really fun. Jade told her. Yeah, party wasn't so bad. The birthday girl admitted with a small smile. Oh, I meant to give you this earlier by the way. Jade pulled out a box wrapped in wrapping paper. Happy birthday. From me to you. You got me a present. Will asked in surprise as she took the box. No, I made you a present. Jade told her. Well, open it up. Will raised an eyebrow as she tore off the wrapping paper and gave a surprised gasp at what she saw. It was a large framed picture of herself, Jade, Jackie, Cornelia, Haylin, Terani, Irma, Uncle, Toru, Uncle, Yanlin, even Caleb. All of whom were together and smiling. How do you even take this? I don't remember this picture. Will voiced, as she would have remembered a group picture like that. No one took it, I made it. Jade explained. I took several pictures of everyone and used some Kai magic from Uncle's books to mix it all together and get everyone to smile. And yes, Uncle does really smile, rarely, but he does. You used magic to make this. Will exclaimed. Probably would have been easier with Photoshop or something. Maybe, but I wanted it to be special. Jade said honestly. Like I said before, I didn't really have any friends except for Jackie, Toru, and Uncle. But since I met you and the other girls, I couldn't help but be super excited about that. I finally got friends who live in the same world of magic and adventure as I do. You have no idea how happy that makes me, and I wanted to show you just how much I appreciate that, just for being my friend. So, what do you think? Will looked at the large photograph for a moment. Jade actually used magic to make this for her. It was true that she had a rough time before moving to Heatherfield and she honestly didn't expect to make any friends right away with what happened to her old friends. But, after meeting these people, and experiencing everything that's happened so far, both ordinary and extraordinary, she couldn't help feel about as happy as Jade right now, maybe even more so. These people were indeed her friends, real friends who would always be there for her, through good times and the bad. Before Will knew it, her eyes got all misty and tears actually formed in them. "Whoa, are you crying?" Jade voiced in surprise. Will sniffed as she wiped the tears of joy off her face from her sleeve. "I'm okay. Jade, this is the best present anyone's ever given me." She suddenly wrapped her arms around Jade in the form of a hug. "Thank you so much." Jade was a bit surprised by this emotional gesture, but she smiled back and returned the hug to her friend. "No problem. Happy birthday, pink perky poopy pumpkin." Will pulled out of the hug with a small laugh as she looked at Jade with a playful yet warning glare. "You know what would be another great gift? For you to never call me that again. No promises." Jade winked. "Come on, party time. I wanna see Toru own these wimps at arm wrestling." Will laughed and shook her head. She was about to walk forward, but accidentally ran into someone and fell to the ground. "Ow. Oh, I'm sorry, you okay?" She looked up to see a teenage boy with long black hair looking to her in concern and offering a hand up. Will stared at him for a second before accepting his hand. Yeah, don't worry about it," she said, trying to hide her blush as this boy was quite handsome. "Name's Will, by the way." "Nice to meet you, I'm Matt." The boy greeted as he shook her hand. "So, you wanna get into the party?" Yeah, let's go party," Will stated as she and Matt joined everyone else. Will really couldn't help but smile at all of this. All things considered, this really was a great birthday. Her best, ever. And this is the end of part 3 of this What If. Do not forget to leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel.